Did you guys see the Wicked stuff?
I've seen some interviews with what's her name? That Ariana Grande, is that her name?
Oh, that's not what we're talking about. Don't give a shit about that.
I saw some drama about photoshopping one of the actresses. Not that one. I have no idea what we're talking about.
I know that the Wicked always ends with
wow, the mic clipped that straight out. The mic saved us on that, by the way. The mic was like, yo, you don't want to hear this. I got you. Clip.
Wow, I got a good noise gate. Holy shit. I think I nailed it too. But okay, fine.
Well, I guess we'll never know. But no. The Barbie stuff.
Oh, I saw that.
My God.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
So Mattel releases a line of Wicked Barbies, and they are supposed to have a link to the movie on the back. And instead of saying wickedmovie.com, it's just wicked.com, which is a very, very different website. And like, it's one of those...
What kind of website, Lucy? What kind of website?
For adults.
Okay,
for
cool.
adults.
All right.
And I'm just like...
I've heard this.
See, like, nothing about Wicked I cared about before now. And then I was just like, I got to see the memes. I got to see the memes about this. Oh my God. Anyway.
They are doing a recall on that, actually. It'd be kind of cool if they were just like, listen, we fucked up, but whatever. It's all good. Like, it's fine.
Do you think
they just left it out there?
There are a lot of kids, they get a new Barbie, they're excited to play with it. They happen to read the back of the box and go, yes, let me check out the website.
That's right, exactly. You just know that in like 40 years, though, there are going to be like vintage sales and like there's going to be those TV shows, what are the Antique Roadshow, whatever. And they're like, oh, this is the special porn edition of this Barbie. Oh, that's worth a pretty penny.
It's going to be right up there with my sealed copy of Concord. I'm going to be next in line.
That's right, exactly.
Well,
there is no Concord porn, though. One of the reasons that game failed.
Honestly,
I don't want to.
Unironically, that is a true thing, right? That is the true thing.
Oh God! I'm gonna steer us out of here. I took us here. This was my. I was like, hey guys, I have something for the top of the show, because the only thing I've done all week is like sit in my house and do nothing. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Friends Per Second, a video game podcast with me, Lucy, Ralph, and Jake. Hello boys. We've got a fun episode this week.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Pissa with...
Excuse me?
Was it PlayStation?
I thought we're changing topics, Lucy.
What does it stand for? I forget.
PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, etc. Nice. We've got the PS5 Pro, so who better to join us to talk about it than John Linneman from Digital Foundry. We're also joined by the S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 team for a quick chat as they are gearing up for release. And of course, we've got what we've been playing, show and tell, and user questions. So it's a fun episode.
Yes. FYI, I'm actually in a hotel room in LA at the moment for secret things. Not actually gaming related, funnily enough, just like general work related. But yeah,
it's tax evasion.
Yeah,
it is, right? I got to renew my visa, so I got to leave the Australian borders of 90. No, I'm joking.
That joke's too real for me.
So no, I'm here with a different setup. I have like recording my video on an iPad, recording my audio on this. I'm using a different mic in the laptop to speak to you guys, and I'm using my webcam so you can see me, which is why it's super low quality for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's locked in.
This
is the most Frankenstein setup I've ever rocked, but it's working, so I'm happy.
I mean, I think as long as nothing's broken so far, touch wood.
So far. But that chat with John coming up is actually a really good chat. We had, I've been huge fans. I've been a huge fan of Digital Foundry forever. They're like the go-to people for this stuff. And yeah, he's just great to talk to. Great fun and great insight, and I really love that chat.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really great is that like I am not a technical person by any means. I think you guys definitely have a better grasp of it, and I could still follow the conversation because of like the way that you all were talking about it, and John especially. Like I think you all did a great job at like keeping it what's the word, approachable.
Yeah, we're not counting compute units or anything like that, so it's good.
What was it? flopper watts or what? No.
Flopper watts. Yes, it's
Megaflops or
absolutely
whatever,
flopper watts. Guys in the comment section, how many flopper watts is the PS6 going to be? Shout out with your predictions. Give us your flopper watts predictions.
Flopper watts sounds like an insult.
It really does.
It sounds like Aussie. It sounds like Aussie slang for what we call computer stuff. It's 15 flopper watts. It really does seem like ours.
Yeah, well, you can have that one for free, Australia. All right, here's our interview with John from Digital Foundry. John, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you on the show because we always reference the work that you and Digital Foundry do all the time. So
totally.
Thank you.
I feel bad if you have any competitors. I don't know who they are. I feel bad for them because at this point we're just directing all our business to you. We're just saying, look, if you need any technical information, go see the Digital Foundry guys. You know.
Well, I appreciate that for sure, but yeah, I'd say the playing field is large enough to handle anyone at this point. There's so many games coming out. We can't handle everything, right? So, yeah. But yes, I appreciate it, and it's a pleasure to be here.
I got a question for you because I mean, Digital Foundry has always just been the name in testing and everything. It's like, where did it come from? How did you get involved? How did you fall into this line of work in this?
Geez, yeah. So I mean, Digital Foundry itself originates from my boss, Richard Ledbetter, the founder. He actually started this as a different sort of business. He was helping magazines produce DVDs for their covers and such, and also like game demo discs and doing that kind of production work back in the 2000, I don't know, 2003, 2004 era, around that time. So it was a completely different business. But Rich himself goes back to, I mean, he's been doing game, writing since like 1990. Right, so he's been at it a long time. Mean Machines magazine, computer and video games, all that kind of stuff in the UK. I think around 2007, he just randomly started putting these things on Eurogamer as sort of like hey, what about games like technical performance? He had found a way, working with a friend of his, to sort of analyze raw HDMI footage, basically frame by frame, using a command line program, and spit out the results into essentially like a text file that could be interpreted into a graph. And he sort of used this as the basis to just start talking about these things, because at the time especially, performance was really bad during that generation. Like 2007, it's like PS3 360 era. Performance, I don't know if you guys remember, but the performance of games on average was like really bad. It was a lot worse it was a lot worse than during the PlayStation 2 era, right? It actually was a downgrade. And so he kind of tried to fill this void of like, hey, what's going on with these games, man? And it was successful. And it's just sort of kind of kept going from there, expanding out into bigger articles. And it was mostly just text stuff on Eurogamer with a video component. I actually didn't come on until 2013, when I left the US behind and moved to Europe. I quit my job doing IT stuff. I was like, hey, I'm going to do this now. My wife's job is what took us over here, and she is French, so wanted to come back to Europe anyway. So it was just, it just happened to work. Like, I love this kind of stuff, and I was doing that kind of stuff myself anyway. And Richard's like, let's do it. So how
did the two of you first connect?
So it was literally just, he put up essentially a help wanted ad on Eurogamer.
Right.
Like, we're looking for other people. It turns out there's not actually that many people that specifically do this kind of stuff. So it's not that easy to find someone that's really like wanting and able to do it, because the thing about DF, especially so as it grew more so, and this is true, I mean, I think anybody that's done YouTube for a while knows how this is, but you've got to be your own writer, your own editor, your video editor. You've got to film your own stuff. You get to capture your own stuff. Like, everything about the production for a single project, you have to do by yourself, right? And when you add in this additional layer of technical knowledge that you need to have, and these extra tools for analyzing things and knowing a lot about game development and programming on all that kind of stuff, it takes a lot to make that work, right? So it's a pretty tough thing. And it did expand, because 2015 is when we did what did they always say? Like pivot to video, I think was the line.
Sure.
That everyone was using back then.
Yeah.
We pivoted to video, which actually paid off because I love working in video versus just writing. I mean, I like to write, but video is where it's at for me. So it worked really well, and it just kind of kept growing from there. I remember we were neck and neck with when we started. We just posted our basic uploads, no voiceover, nothing, on a YouTube channel. We just dumped them on there. And at that time, we had the same number of subscribers as the Eurogamer YouTube channel. We were like, oh, we're growing neck and neck with them. And then we ended up just like exploding past them in the end. And it's doing, I'm happy with how well it's going right now. So
definitely. Because how big is the team now? So it's you, Alex, Rich, and
Oliver,
Tom,
yes, and Will Judd, who does a lot of the writing stuff on like review of hardware and stuff and website stuff. And then also I have contributors and friends with Audie Surly and then Corey and Mark from My Life in Gaming, who I kind of work with them sometimes when they have the time to make cool retro content. So
yeah, nice. I'm a long-time patron subscriber, so that's another shout out, by the way. If you're watching, they do have a patron, so please
much
go
appreciated.
Out and help them out because you guys do fantastic work and really appreciate it. So yeah, really keen. Obviously, really glad to have you on because it's just cool to hear about Digital Foundry and the work that you guys do. But also, very topical because PS5 Pro has just launched. And, most people turn to you for your team for coverage. Wanted to hear what it's like for you guys to get a new piece of hardware and go through that process. Like, where does it begin? Did you have like a secret chat with Sony like 3 years ago about this shit? And then
wish.
like what is the first contact point that you had with Sony about the console? And then what was it like to get the units and to get to get all that work done? Walk us through what that whole thing was like.
Man, that's interesting because it really varies per company, right? Some are more secretive than others. Like Nintendo, for instance, extremely secretive.
Sure.
Sony's kind of in the middle. Microsoft's very open with us, and they've that's like when we saw the Series X and S like months and months and months before it was even announced, right? That was really cool. But with the PS5 Pro, it was so Sony ran they kind of delivered units to reviewers about a week before the launch.
Yeah.
So it was.
So you guys didn't get it because I got it about then as well, and I was wondering if you guys got it.
We got it exactly when you did, and I think that's just their program, right? They can't.
Sure.
They weren't going to necessarily make special exceptions for any singular site, and they did not, and I wouldn't necessarily expect them to either. But that's just how it went. It's a lot less time than I'd say the launch of the original PS5. I feel like we had PS5 and Xbox Series X almost like 3 or 4 weeks before launch. So we were able to bank a lot of content. This time, though, it was like, well, shoot, what do we do with a week? So we managed to get enough units for at least half the team because we needed it. We really needed enough units to be able to capture all this stuff and do all this content. But it made things tricky because it's like normally Rich would want to do like the normal full review, and then each one of us would tackle different aspects of the system, different games and whatnot. But this time we actually took a different approach to the review where it was like we did sort of a three-man talking about it kind of review that was a bit longer, but it wasn't scripted. The idea was we all kind of tackled different elements of the system experience, and then we kind of come together and discuss it and share our feelings. And this was kind of our strategic shift to be able to make content that actually hit the embargo date, because the embargo was even before launch. It was like a day before. Plus we did the unboxing thing, which we had some fun with.
Tore that box open, man. How dare you? Show some respect to that cardboard.
Brutal.
Rich really went for it, right? Like he's like, oh.
No reselling that bad boy. You're stuck with it now.
Oh my gosh, that's Rich right there. So we were able to get that out, and then it's just like when a new system comes in, it's just a matter of like loading up as many games as possible and trying to understand like what it does, what it's what are the stories here, what are the upgrades that will actually be interesting to people, because you can kind of guess it to a degree going in, but until you actually get hands on and really understand what's going on there, you can't make that call. And so that's always the tricky part of this, especially when it's just you're downloading so much. Games are so big. I've got a mix of discs and digital downloads, and just like getting all of that stuff on the system. And then like that alone, like it's not like the old days, right? Where you plug in the console, you're ready to go. It's like you plug this thing in and it's like the next 24 hours, this is just going to be a box that sits here installing stuff.
Yeah.
Basically.
Definitely. Did you have any networking challenges with it, by the way? Because
I did.
Yes, I had them too, actually.
I didn't. Dude, I was going to say, so for context, you three have one. Yeah. I haven't even seen one in the flesh.
Really?
So,
you haven't seen one?
No. You're not going to believe this. It looks like
I saw your
PlayStation
pictures taking it to the beach, Jake.
Why did you okay, let's
why
just
did you
pause.
take
John,
it to the beach?
You haven't seen this video probably, John, but Jake did a review of it, and for some reason he took it down to a beachfront and just walked along the beach holding it and just did random shit on the sand.
I'm gonna watch that now,
with this, Jake?
So we started. We have to stand out. We have to, there's the Verge hardware reviews. There's Marquez Brownlee. I think we started with PS5. So everything is weird. We just like go, what do we do with this thing? So we took the Xbox Series X to the woods. We put the PS5 in front of like a DeLorean. We did like a car photo shoot.
Nice.
I took the Steam Deck next to like portable toilets on a street. And now the PS5 Pro to the beach. Yeah. So you gotta stand out.
My favorite shot was just a PS5 Pro sitting on like a rock with like a cigarette lighter next to it for some reason.
Yeah, it's a New York beach, so it's like a dirty beach. It's not like a gorgeous beach.
Yeah, nice. Anyway, I forgot how we got onto this tangent. How did we get here? What were we talking about?
John, I do want to know. Well, I do want to know because you said like you guys were all taking it and like finding the story or the like. So for you, just jumping in, like what is the most interesting angle of the Pro for you personally?
So that's the thing, and so first of all, that actually kind of highlights one of the key things with Digital Foundry is that the trick here is that we mostly just cover what we want to cover. Like if we find something personally interesting or exciting, that's how we determine if it's going to get covered. Because
that's cool.
There's only so much time to make content, and if you're covering stuff that you don't actually care about, people can tell, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So in my case, the most exciting stuff so far. So that's the thing. It's like when I think about all the games. Well, okay, one. I just wanted like a smooth version of Elden Ring. It was actually like fairly consistent, and this is actually probably the best yet because I love that game. But I didn't play the DLC yet. I just kind of put it on hold. And in fact, I hadn't played it on PS5 outside of like testing it. I played on Xbox originally, but I decided to buy the nice Japanese physical copy of the game, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to play this properly now. Let's do this. Actually, that's a big one. The one that I was waiting for was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Definitely.
Because that was a case, and this sucks that it has to be this way, but that's a case where it didn't look good enough for me on the image quality. The game looked good, but the image quality was very blurry. I mean, I'm using a 77-inch screen, and I sit close to it for that full effect. And a game like that just does not look good when you blow it up on a large screen, right? And the Pro was like game-changing in terms of what it just does to the image quality. And it really shows off the potential of PSSR, which it's not DLSS level yet, but these sort of like AI-based, machine learning-based upsamplers, there is definitely a curve to them. They take time to really become great, but in this case, I think it's already quite good.
Yeah.
Unfortunate name though, Pisser.
I know. We coined that on ours as well. I call it the
what
Pisser.
is it doing?
That's good. So
I know. So like, yeah. Where does that come from?
So, I mean, if for anyone that's not been across the coverage, do you want to just give us like the high-level talking points for the Pro and like your high-level findings for it? Because obviously, most people I think are going to be pretty across it, but I'm sure some people aren't.
Yeah, I mean, so this is obviously, it's an interesting product because it is targeting sort of the a weird middle ground of like the high-end console gamer, if you will. Typically, I would think you go from console to PC, but this is like this middle ground. So it's the more hardcore that want the best console experience, and we've been around this before. We did it last time, and I think even just the existence of Series S and Series X also kind of spells it out, where it's like, hey, this is a more powerful version of an existing unit. The main idea Sony had here is obviously there's PSR, PSSR, which, so since the time of that launch, and even when they launched, machine learning was used for things like DLSS to essentially massively improve image quality while rendering fewer native pixels, because frankly pixels were being wasted and like too many resources were being poured into this, like trying to hit these really high resolutions, when you can actually get results that are comparable or actually better in many cases by using techniques like this. And it's very interesting that Sony has now dipped their toes into this field where they are actually doing a proper machine learning based upsampler, so that's a big thing. And all the new Pro patches, by and large, support this. So that is key. And I think that's going to be kind of what we see going forward. If anything, like even if nothing else changes for a Pro version of a game, I think you can expect this image quality boost thanks to PSSR. So that's the one thing. There's ray tracing performance. Ray tracing performance, of course, is becoming increasingly important. I think more and more games are starting to use it, but we're seeing cases where it's just a little bit too much for the consoles. And in some cases, console versions are missing ray tracing, like Alan Wake 2. They were able to bring this over to the PlayStation version now on the PS5 Pro, which it makes a big difference in a lot of areas in that game. So that's kind of just another boost there. Of course, there's just a general increase in performance as well. Like the GPU itself is just bigger. So this is also, plus there's like a 10, I think it's 10%. I can't remember. It's like you get a little bit more CPU grunt, not much, but a little bit. And when you combine the extra GPU with the extra CPU power and everything, this also kind of allows higher frame rates in a lot of cases, right? So that's another key. Like for instance, even games that aren't Pro supported, like if you go back to any of Capcom's Resident Evil games that have PS5 versions, did you know you can now play them all at 120 frames per second locked, which is, I think that's super cool, right? Like it just works now. It was previously uncapped. You could do the 120 mode, but it didn't run at that by any stretch, and now it does. So right. So that's kind of the other big thing there. So it's really just about making games look a bit better and run smoother. So they can't say this, obviously, but there is another side benefit I see to this, is that we're seeing, so Unreal Engine 5 is a very popular engine, but there haven't been that many big games yet because they're coming, they're in development. But everything we've seen thus far this generation shows all these consoles can barely handle these games. The engine is just flat out very, very heavy. And we've seen on PS5 and Xbox Series X games dropping to like 720p or less in terms of pixel counts, struggling to even knock at 60 FPS. I think something like the PS5 Pro is going to be very useful for UE5 games going forward in terms of essentially solving some of the performance problems and hopefully getting us closer to a good, clear, nicer experience. So I think it's going to benefit a lot of developers going forward.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a thing, because when I was playing it, and I wonder what your thoughts on this are as well, when I was playing around with it, testing it this week, the benefits that you can get across some games are really notable. And obviously we look at like Final Fantasy and we're like, holy shit, man, this is like going from low settings to high on a PC. And you said, you can play Resident Evil games now at 120 FPS, that sort of stuff. And that jumps out at you. But on balance, it kind of feels like, okay, there's clearly some more power here, and there's clearly some more potential within, PSSR in particular. But it just seems like right now the current suite of games that we've got available to us, they're just not ready for that, because they weren't made with this console in mind. And so it's totally fair that, we're not seeing that big upside. To me, it strikes me that like the potential of this machine is more interesting than what it's doing right now. And I think that's made for a very muted reception, that, when the PS4 Pro came around, we were like, fuck yeah, man, this rules, buy this, it's so cool, blah, blah, blah. Whereas this one, everyone's like, yeah,
I think the reason
maybe
for
wait
that
a bit.
is probably down to there's no new display technology to really deal with this time. Because like the jump from 4K to 4K was big, right? And suddenly your console was able to support that. And especially if you look at something like the Xbox One X, the original Xbox One was not great. It was a very troubled system. The results were usually very bad. And then the One X comes along and it's the most powerful console at generation. And it's just like night and day difference in terms of what it can do. It's huge. With the PS5 Pro, we're in this age now where it's like, we're already hitting, you're already getting 4K output. Most games look good. Like people, there's not, some games definitely have issues, but I say by and large, when a new game comes out, it looks pretty darn good and it runs good enough for most people. So when you combine this like sort of minor upgrade with the high cost of the unit, especially the fact that the disk drive was not built in, which for a unit called the Pro, it's not very professional to leave that out.
Yeah. That's wild, isn't it? Like that, right? I just think look, I have my own theories about this, like in terms of, Sony and their cost base and their margins. And like, I can't see that they're just trying to make a huge amount of profit on this device. No. You know what I mean? Because it just seems like that would be a big self-own. Like you could really enlarge your console base if you could price this really competitively. So for them to price it like this and not include a disk drive, I suspect they're under a lot of cost pressure. But at the same time, it's like still,
I know
there should be a fucking disk drive in this, man. Like it should be that. Like that's it,
Yeah, I think if I had to guess, just pure speculation, I'd imagine that when this console was in development before even PS5 launched, the entire idea was to get this to retail for the same price point as the PS5 did at launch, just like they did with PS4 Pro. I could almost guarantee that that's what they wanted to achieve. But given what's happened with the world economy and everything going on in these days, as we know, that's just not feasible right now. Things have not come down. And in fact, a lot of costs have gone so far up that I think they realistically could not achieve that anymore.
Yeah.
And they were either forced to scrap the project or just sell it at a high price, as they've done, right? Because, I mean, like you said, of course they'd love to be able to sell it at $499, right? That would be awesome. I'm sure that would do huge numbers for them. But they clearly couldn't pull it off. So here we are.
And because I just think, imagine if this was even like $599 with a disk drive included. I think the entire conversation around this would be so different. It would be very like, fuck yeah, man, look, this fucking rules, like, But now instead we're kind of thinking like, maybe wait, and we're thinking, hey, have you tried PC gaming? You know what I mean? So, and I think the challenge as well with like the whole wait thing is that, okay, how many years left do we have in this console cycle? I don't know, but not a lot, I would say.
4 or 5.
And further, and then I would say like how many big games are going to come out during that time? Because again, 4 or 5 years in this cycle is very different to 4 or 5 years in the PS4 cycle, the PS3 cycle. They're just less big games. And so, is it just worthwhile waiting for that next generation system rather than this incremental upgrade? Obviously, that's everyone's budget and taste and desire for this stuff, of course. But I just think about what I say to my own friends who are asking me about this. They're like, should I get the Pro? And I'm like, look, I think probably maybe not, unless later on it becomes clear that this thing is just so much better, and you're willing to take that hit because, obviously PSSR and the extra GPU power is put to use by developers in a better way. Right now, I'm just telling people, hey man, probably just get like a base model or like secondhand on Facebook Marketplace. You know what I mean?
I feel like if it's a friend that's coming to you being like, hey dude, which one should I get? They probably should just get the regular one. Yeah. I feel like the people that want the Pro know that they want the Pro. They understand.
Yeah, they're locked in. They're in the zeitgeist. They know what's going on. They
know
care
what's
about
going
the frames.
on. They understand why they would want this, and that's what they're going to do. And I think there's enough people like that for sure.
Definitely.
But you're right. The average consumer that's finally deciding to get a PS5, it's probably not necessary for them. But I will say, so we were talking about the disc stuff before when recommending things. I talked about this on DF Direct, but it really struck me this time. I wanted to test out some other games that were PS5 Pro enhanced, and I'm like, all right, I'll check out the Crew Motorfest, Lords of the Fallen, and a couple others, and I like pop into the store. I live in Germany, but my main account is actually American, so I just left it that way. So I look up Lords of the Fallen, and it's like the version that comes up, $79.99. It's like, okay, Crew Motorfest, $69.99. And I'm just like, I'm sure they've been on sale at some point, no doubt. But if I wanted to buy them right there digitally, that's a lot of freaking money. I was instead able to find the disc versions for $15 each.
Yeah.
Which I then picked up. And I feel like people really need to understand, like, man, when you give up discs completely, even if you're all in on digital, like you're just in this situation now where you are entirely dependent on the whims of who's ever running the store. Like, it's funny if you go like type in like NBA 2K22 or 23 or something, it's an out of date version of the game. It's in most cases, these are still full price games.
Yeah, it's wild.
And you're just like, what the heck?
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think it's also, I think it cuts a slight different way when we talk about Steam, right? Because, you know, like,
Totally.
The discounts that we're able to get on console games, digital console games, even when they're on sale, they're never just like rock bottom level discounts.
It's never like I got to text my friend to tell them about this deal.
The Steam sale prices are so insane. Like you will get like Borderlands 3 for like $3.99. Do you know what I mean? Like it gets to that point of absurdity. And I think that's something else that that we don't talk about enough when we talk about the price of PC gaming, right? Because you can't build a machine for $800 that is as strong as the PS5 Pro at the moment. You can't do that, right? But you can get one that's like pretty damn good. And then when you start factoring in all of the discounts that you're able to get on Steam games or whatever else, like that is wild. You know what I mean? Obviously, though, you know, you do completely give up physical media when you do that. And I understand totally why people, want to have a console and they want to have that disc. I fully respect that. But at the same time, the price point of this device, its capabilities, its awkward place in the life cycle does get you thinking about alternatives, you know? And I made the jump to PC gaming, like, you know, last generation. And I definitely can't see myself going back to the world of consoles. I play consoles from time to time, but like otherwise, I'm just very, very happy.
I'm in all the worlds, man.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like, Ralph, I'm in the same boat as you. And also, I'm the person who is incredibly plugged in to gaming, and yet the PS5 Pro is just not something that I'm even considering at this point. I think for me, because there is nothing that I want to play on it. As in, like, I've already played Rebirth. I'm not gonna buy how much is it? $700 console plus disc drive?
If you're lucky enough to be in America, that is.
Yeah, of course. It's worse in Europe and Japan.
Yeah. People ask me why I moved to America. No, I'm kidding. But like,
that's right.
Yeah, actually looking at the thing, like, why the hell is the UK version £100 for the disc drive and it's like $80 over here? Anyway.
It's 120 euros here.
Oh, God.
That's wild, man.
But
that is absolutely wild.
Sony for me does not have an intriguing enough slate. Like, they've announced Ghost of Yotei. Great, very excited to play that in 2025. But, like, what else is there from Sony's first party specifically? Because everything else, I have a 4090 hooked up to an OLED TV.
Damn.
Like,
baby. That's how you do it.
Gaming. But it's like, I'm not gonna spend all that money on a new console because I think when was PS4 Pro? I mean, PS4 Pro had like the 4K stuff, but I remember playing
2016 when it came out.
But that was also different because you had to have that console because if you wanted to play PlayStation games, you could only play them there. But now, obviously, you've got a 4090, you know, so everything else is a massive downgrade, and you can play PlayStation games on that PC so long as you're willing to wait for them, you know.
Right.
And that's that, you know.
Yeah, and so it's strange because like normally I would be jumping to get a new piece of hardware, right?
Yeah.
But it feels like this one is probably I'm just gonna wait it out.
I don't blame you for that. Yeah. I think we're in a weird situation too as well, where it's just I don't even say weird. It's like development is taking so much longer than it used to, and it's just that's the problem right now. Like, you're right, there's not that many games announced. It doesn't mean there's not a ton being worked on. It's just that they're taking so much longer to make than they ever did before. And also, Sony foolishly, I would say, trimmed their studios way back, especially the Japanese side, which is a real shame. I hope that Astrobot at least moves the needle a little bit in terms of, hey, we need more of this stuff. But yeah, they went too hard. I think Sony made some bad calls years ago when they completely doubled down on just big AAA stuff that takes a long time to make, rather than accepting more AA, single A good stuff that Sony was previously known for. And then there was that whole weird multiplayer thing that really never came to fruition. And I hope that they just kind of abandon that for the most part. I'm sorry, people that love multiplayer. I apologize in advance.
Don't worry, man. You won't find many people listening to this podcast who are like, yeah, no, man, I love Sony's live service push. Fuck this John guy.
I do get that there sometimes. Like, what are you talking about? I want those multiplayer games, man. It's like,
I feel like you get along really well with Sean Layden, who we just had on the podcast recently.
I think so. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm not down with that weird push that they got going on. Which
Yeah.
never really came to fruition, as we see.
Wait, we've got Fair Games coming out.
I don't even know what that is.
Fair
What is
Games
that?
is the Jade Raymond Heaven. It's
That's
It's gonna go the way. It's gonna go the way of hyenas. Mark my words.
it's like an
Jesus
extraction
Christ.
shooter. It's like take from the rich, give to the poor.
Oh, that one. God, yeah.
There's a dollar
oh,
sign
man.
in the title.
Oh no! When you put the dollar sign in the
please.
title, it's just you never do that.
Just pivoting for a second, one thing that you guys covered briefly in your initial review, and then you doubled down, you dive deeper into it later, but I haven't checked that thing. PS4 image enhancement.
Bloodborne, baby.
So tell us, because I think in your initial coverage, you're like, yeah, it's a little bit better. The UI is sharper, but I haven't watched your follow-up coverage that dives into it more deeper. That was Oliver, I think, did that. What's the TLDR on that stuff?
It is sort of like a spatial upscaling thing. It's just like a post-process style upscaler, I believe. It has some benefits, like things like UI elements and 2D elements, fonts and whatnot can actually benefit quite nicely. But for 3D, it doesn't effectively raise the resolution of anything. It's just like it's almost like applying sharpening. It's like turning contrast adaptive sharpening on with some additional, possibly ML based, like sort of like spatial upscaling going on. It can look good in some cases, but fundamentally, like, aliasing that exists is still going to exist, right? Like, you still get the same pixel crawling in the same way. It's just going to be, it's like, instead of like square edges, you might get like more weird rounded edges, and it just it has a very strange impact on the image. I think I largely have decided I don't like it. But there are definitely cases where it can look kind of nice. But at the same time, it only applies to older PS4 titles that are limited to 1080p. And by and large, that mostly means titles from like before 2016, which is like just the first couple of years or 3 years of PS4. Right. It's the older stuff, right? Because most games at that point then just supported the PS5 Pro. And even if the assets were 1080p, they had like technical PS5 or PS4 Pro support. So this sort of sharpening thing wouldn't apply to it. It literally only applies to 1080p titles.
That was my experience. Like, I just jumped Bloodborne, like, we were kind of squinting and like, oh yeah, that's like a little bit, yeah. And then we tried Red Dead 2 and didn't really
it wouldn't do anything, right? Because
and the HDR still looks like shit anyway on the console version of that game.
Yes, it do.
Yeah, so it's an interesting sort of sell, and I think as well, like, GTA 6 really features into the conversation about this in a big way, because that's a seismic moment. That's going to be a seismic moment in the world of console sales. You know, that's the moment where a lot of people are going to cop. You guys have predicted that we can't expect 60 FPS for GTA 6 on consoles, correct?
That's just pure prediction, right?
Sure.
Based on their targets and what they've traditionally aimed for. I don't personally expect 60 FPS, but I can't say for sure. Like, these guys are very secretive, and they absolutely could have some sort of 60 FPS mode in the works. they have started to dabble with graphics modes. The current version of GTA 5 has lots of different options to mess with. So it's entirely possible they could do that and surprise us, which would be cool. In which case, it would probably be better on the Pro, and it probably will be anyway. I feel like if Sony is smart, given if they can actually pull this off, they weren't able to get the prices down for launch of this thing, but if they could get the prices down of their console around the launch of GTA 6, that would probably be a very wise move on their part.
Huge.
Yeah.
Right? That's the bundle on that. Like, it's just that'd be a massive.
Yeah.
Because single games can really change the console. Like, I remember chatting with like a Sony guy talking about like the impact of Fortnite on PS4 console, and
it's nuts, dude.
PS4 console, like the life cycle, that console was meant to trend down towards the end of its life cycle. But Fortnite was so massively popular that it basically just buoyed the sales of kept that console alive. One game can do that, and if any one game is going to do that this generation, it's going to be this,
GTA 6.
So
I thought you were going to say Indiana Jones and the Circle of Trust.
Great Circle.
The Great Circle, which I can't help but think of the Xbox 360 when they talk about the Great Circle.
Sure. Indiana Jones and the Red Ring of Death would be such a great name for a fucking indie title, man. Come on now, that's perfect right there,
Oh, God.
All right, well, I feel like it's probably a good place to end. Is there anything else you guys want to chat about with John?
Yeah, we're game for anything.
I guess maybe what's next for Digital Foundry? Like, what are you excited about looking into towards the end of the year, and any other madcap predictions you've got?
The big excitement, of course, this should be a new Nintendo Switch console next year. And I think Microsoft has some very big plans cooking. We've talked about predictions and thoughts on that, and I think they're gonna just completely shift to to their strategy in a way that completely sort of abandons the old school console market, and I think that's what they've been working towards. If I had to
predict? You go on. You go. So go.
That we're looking at possibly more of a future that's more rooted in the PC.
Totally, 100%. Yeah, the fact that they didn't do an Xbox Pro, or they haven't done it. Look, maybe they will, right? Of course, we don't know.
I don't believe it.
I just can't believe it. Like, if I was Satya and they pitched that to me, I'm like, how many of these we're going to sell? They can't even sell normal Xboxes right now, So that's over.
The writing's on the wall. They realize now this whole subsidized console thing, it's not working anymore.
No, not for them. Not for them.
No, it's not exactly. And I feel like, if I were in their shoes, I would try to take a power play and do something that Sony and Nintendo cannot. Because Microsoft has that PC base. They are PC because of Windows. They've not done a good job with this integration so far, but I think that if they really put all the resources to making that work, they could come up with a way to do like a hybrid style device where Xbox becomes something else than what it's traditionally been. And they could do really well there. So, I don't think they're going anywhere. They are a gigantic publisher now. They're going to continue to release their games on other platforms. It's hard. I think that shift was dramatic this year, but I think it's just Microsoft making big plays to change the way that they approach the business.
Totally.
Kind of out of necessity, right?
Yep.
I can definitely see them doing another, continuing with their mainline Xbox release, right? I can definitely see them doing the next generation of Xbox, but I don't imagine that they're going to be putting a huge amount of weight behind it. Like, I wonder if that might even be like a hardware partnership where they, partner up with some fucking PC manufacturer or whatever I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just, I think they want to have a hardware footprint. They want to keep that going. It just makes sense for them to have some foothold there, but obviously there's no way that stays their focus. Like, I see them far more as a publisher now.
Yeah, I think so, but I think they look at something like what Valve's done with Steam Deck, and they're like, okay, it's time. Yeah. Right? Like, this is what they've wanted. That's what they wanted originally when they talked about Xbox. I mean, maybe not Seamus Blackley and them. They understood what the console market was at the time and that it was not possible then, but it is possible now.
What do you mean? When you say they want something like a Steam Deck, what do you mean by that?
The Xbox and Windows become the same thing. They sell hardware that's Xbox branded, but guess what? It's Windows. If you want to sideload Steam and stuff on your Xbox, go for it. You know, if you're buying stuff, you're using Game Pass, whatever, it's all still beneath the surface. It's Windows. But the key, and this is what they need to get right, is if they're going to do that, and I don't know if they will, they need to get that user experience right. Valve did that. SteamOS is really freaking good. That front end is so good. Windows does not have that, but it could.
It's terrible,
right? Like, imagine if they were able to pull off what Valve did. That's not easy.
I mean, but at the same time,
hard.
like Xbox it seems constitutionally incapable of providing good user experiences. It's like we're talking
I know what you
since
mean,
day dot, man. You know?
I know, dude. I know. That's the thing. It's like, that's why when you say it, you're like, it sounds good on paper. Can they really do it? I hope they can do it. Because I think it could be really cool if they could deliver something like that. And that's why I think when you look at what the Steam Deck is, to me, that model makes sense for Xbox. And maybe not just a handheld, but like multiple pieces of hardware. What if you have a console, you have a handheld?
I can see that.
Something shaped like an X, please. Just make an actual console shaped like an X.
Something shaped like a big shiny X. All of that stuff is possible.
Full circle, man.
I could see it. I think that would be a cool move for them if they could do it. It would be hard to execute, but if they could pull it off, I think we could see something really cool and different from them.
Well, John, thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. It was great to be here.
Good chatting with you, man.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Anytime.
We'll get you back. We'll get you back for a Switch 2 deep dive.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, man. All the best. Thank you.
See you.
This week's episode of Friends Per Second is brought to you by AG1, who have been a long-term sponsor of the show. So thank you very much. We appreciate you. We've been using AG1 for a very long time. It's part of our morning routines, and we're going to get into that a little bit later on. But first of all, it's good to know that AG1 is running a special Black Friday offer for all of November. So now is the time.
Yeah, and the best thing about it is that it is packed with nutrients and it's super easy. So if you start the morning with it, it's a scoop and a glass of water. You slam it, it tastes good, and you're good to go. And then when you have it, it helps alleviate stuff like bloating. It supports sustained energy and whole body health. Yeah.
I think gut health is the other one, because it's like, that's something that, I don't know, I struggle with sometimes. And I think it's like, just generally knowing that there's something that you can take at the start of the day to help like balance that out. It's really nice. They also say that it makes you require less coffee. I don't drink too much coffee in the first instance, but it's nice to know that's the case. And yeah, it also helps with like overall energy and vitality, which is always really nice.
What I like is that they offer travel packs as well. I travel quite a bit. And when I travel, I have bad habits and I feel like I'm usually just a mess. So when traveling and you have the little AG1 travel packs, it's nice because it's a little packet of the same stuff you used to every day. You throw that in and then you feel like you're not a mess when you're traveling, which I like.
And of course, it is the holiday season, so if you are looking to get yourself a deal or maybe even a gift for someone special, what better gift is that to be like, hey, I'm thinking of you, I want you to be taking care of yourself.
I'm thinking of your gut.
Thinking of your gut. So we have a special deal with AG1. Like I said, every week of November, they're running a special Black Friday deal with a free gift with your first subscription, in addition to the welcome gift with vitamin D3 plus K2. So check out drinkag1.com/friends to see what gift you can get this week. And that's drinkag1.com/friends to start your holiday season off on the right note while supplies last. Time for a user question. This one is from the Substack, which is friendspersecond.substack.com. This is from Jesse Hughes. Hi, I have a question for everyone. What's your favorite weird video game adjacent product? For example, I love how they recently released a Cult of the Lamb metal album, and I remember Jake's Metal Gear Solid cologne. I love how the games industry does these weird and seemingly random products sometimes, so what are your favorites? Thank you. I love listening to the pod every week, and it's become one of the biggest things I look forward to every 2 weeks. From a developer in training, Jesse. I love this question.
Yeah, thank you.
I was going to say the Metal Gear Solid cologne was... You get that.
That was a highlight.
That's a highlight. Speaking of Metal Gear, Mondo did vinyl record releases of a lot of the Metal Gear soundtracks, and the art on them is absolutely incredible. I love those. They are a fine addition to my collection. Final Fantasy wine. I'm just looking around my room.
I was going to say Assassin's Creed wine was my favorite.
That was legendary. I remember when you made that video.
Because every assassin had a different kind of wine, and then the back of every label was like, Aveline is, she likes to blend into the shadows, and she takes on, because in that game, you dressed up, right, to disguise yourself. She was like, disguising itself and a suitable accompaniment to every dish, and it was just like every single bottle of wine was like that. So I loved those ones. Also, I got to drink at work.
Hell yeah,
which is great.
That's allowed sometimes.
Sometimes, but hashtag content.
I have a Metal Gear mouse pad actually. While we're on the topic of Metal Gear, it's the codec screen.
Oh,
it's like a full desk length mouse pad.
I thought it was going to be Snake's ass.
No,
that'd be awesome.
That's one of those. Yep, sure. That's one of the wrist. That's ergonomic. That's why it's protecting carpal tunnels. So.
I wouldn't be having this problem if I had the Snake ass mouse pad.
No, that's it.
I have like a Metal Gear. It's a ration, and it's a bottle opener.
Oh, I like.
Oh,
that.
hell yeah!
Yeah,
that's
so
good.
it's like the circular. If people listening, it's like the circular ration, and then on the back of it, it's just got a little bottle cap opener thing.
Have there ever been any product spin-offs that are serious products that have come from video games that were not just like one time, like the Nuka-Cola rum for whatever?
Oh, I got
like
that. That was shit.
Yeah, right. Was there anything real that went out to consumers and that you could buy regularly?
It didn't go out to consumers, but Armored Core released a hot sauce in the US, and that stuff was really good. Yeah, I don't want to put him on blast, but Michael Hyam came over to look after my cats, and he had a lot of that hot sauce, and I was like, I did say he could have anything in the cupboard, but I wish I told him that
he just went for the hot sauce. That's great.
Just not that.
It was so good. No, it got to the point that last year I genuinely emailed my contact at Bandai Namco, and I was like, hey, you got any more of that hot sauce? But they never sold it. Stuff that they did sell,
I don't think there's nothing I can think of has actually stayed on shelves as a serious, like, okay, we've made this product and people want it so bad that we're going to keep making it. It's all just like one-time spin-offs, like fucking Halo Doritos that give you bonus XP weekends shit.
The Mountain Dew, yeah. Oh, Skibbity Toilet, which is like video game adjacent, but there are toys now of Skibbity Toilet, which is weird if you think about how that derives from Half-Life Source. Like, what a wild world.
There's Fortnite Halloween costumes. I saw a bunch of those in Target recently.
There are Destiny Nerf guns.
Oh, yeah.
Which are actually sick. And I have a Nerf gun Gjallarhorn that is literally like big. It's properly big. Like, I can't even show you on screen how big it is. It's massive. And there's like a whole range of other ones. So that's nice. I like that sort of stuff. Yeah, there's plenty of Lego. There's plenty of Lego stuff as well.
There's like is
horrendously
it Halo?
Expensive
Halo's
Lego.
got Duplo. There's Minecraft.
Yes.
There's Minecraft Lego, Animal Crossing Lego, Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
I have actually one of my favorites. You can't really see it in the background. I have a Garrus Vakarian tiki mug.
That's cool.
From Mass Effect.
Okay, it's nice.
Which I
it's
really
good.
enjoy.
Yeah.
Just like looking around at my stuff. You know what I do like that's like video game adjacent? This is a little more specific. PAX. I don't know if it's just PAX East or PAX West, but part of their merch every year for PAX East are these big knitted scarves.
Oh, okay.
And they have like the PAX logo. They're kind of like Harry Potter, like Gryffindor ass looking scarves. I wouldn't rock it. Like, it wouldn't match my jacket, but they're just cool to have and collect. And I always like them because it's like an actual item you can wear and use.
Yeah, it's nice. It doesn't get cold enough down here to justify those, but yeah, that's it.
I love a big chunky scarf. I'm trying to think.
I do too.
Cult of the Lamb metal album. I didn't even realize they'd done that.
I just found these.
I
got
a whole
these.
bunch of. What are those?
These are like little Pikmin book magnets. So instead of a whole bookmark, you just clip the top of the page with the little magnet.
Oh, okay. All right.
I got them from, like the conveyor belt sushi places?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went again. And if you eat enough plates, you win a little prize, like on a little gotcha machine. And it was all Pikmin themed this month. And I was like, I got to eat so much sushi. I need a Pikmin toy.
Wait, this is in America?
Yeah.
Oh, right. No way. Okay.
Yeah, and I got lucky. I got the little Pikmin bookmark things. So
That is
Nice.
great. I love that.
That's what I do as a 30-something-year-old man.
Absolutely.
Alone.
God, alone. Wow.
God.
For lunch.
I don't have anything like really, really weird. I mean, I've got like the Cyberpunk tie-in, which I think is fun.
What is that?
Actually, it's from Cyberpunk. It's just a branded cider that they have. I do have a.
They did the same thing for Monster Energy, actually. Or no, Rockstar. Sorry, they did like Cyberpunk themed Rockstar drinks. I remember that. Yeah.
I do have I have a bone charm, like a 3D printed bone charm from Dishonored 2.
Oh, that's sick.
Specifically, yeah.
That's cool.
Nice.
Which was very cool. That's back home though, at my mum's. I'm trying to think like in terms of weird stuff.
Oh, I got something weird. This is silly, but it's not that weird. But I just traveled and I just used it for the first time. I have a Cyberpunk 2077 backpack. Everybody got the yellow chair that everybody makes fun of. I just got a backpack. And it's like a Samsonite backpack. Ooh. And it's like over designed. It's got 80,000 zippers and 80,000 compartments. And the amount of times,
that's the future they want for us.
Is it like really square and boxy?
I was like, where's my headphones? Where's my passport? Where's my charger? Like, and I was just rummaging. You know how like girls rummage through their bags? I became one of those with this backpack.
Yeah, no, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for your question. Next up, we have kind of a quick chat with Eugene Kulyk, who is the technical producer over at GSC Game World on Stalker 2. And so, yeah, like, I'm a newcomer to Stalker, kind of always been in the periphery, but I'm really intrigued by this one. Also, the story for this game to even exist, kind of nuts. And Eugene was joining us. Like, this poor guy was getting Slack messages because they're polishing stuff up ready for launch. So we grabbed him for a quick 15 minutes, and here you go. I guess let's start with the big sort of question, because this game has gone through a development process, I guess, like none other. You've got, it was originally cancelled. You've been uprooted by war. I mean, how do you and the team feel now that you are on the cusp of releasing Stalker 2?
Thank you for this question. So, first of all, I would like to mention and cheer up our colleagues from Ukrainian studio, from Kyiv. And guys, you're doing like a really great job in these terrible war conditions, but we love you so much, and we really appreciate your job. And speaking of development process, it's been like really tough for us. First of all, because we developed like really big game, and with a lot of gameplay mechanics, a lot of gameplay features, and of course, really vast and big story with different endings and so on and so on. And we are really excited to show it to the whole world and remind like the whole world that Ukraine is capable of doing like great stuff, great games. And we are looking forward to release. We're prepared. And it's like several days.
We played Alan Wake 2 and we spoke to the developers about that. And one thing they're very passionate about is communicating a sense of Finnish culture through their game. They really want it to like feel Finnish. And I wonder, is there parts of this in the development that you really said we want to remind people that this is a Ukrainian product, and like how would that come through in the game if that was to be felt?
Yeah, the first thing first, there are a lot of Ukrainian art in the game. You might notice, for example, on the bus stations, we shared like several screenshots of that recently. And of course, we added like a lot of Ukrainian music. So you will be able to hear that through the radios in our hubs throughout the map. And there are a lot of Ukrainian structures. For example, like when you're traveling through the small villages, and you may notice that those buildings, we call it khatkas in Ukraine, and they're like authentic Ukrainian villages and authentic Ukrainian village-style structures.
I want to back up a little bit, just for you specifically, as someone who doesn't know a lot about how games are made. With you being technically a technical producer, what are you doing in the final lead up to the game's launch? Like, what's your role?
Thank you for this question. My role is to make sure that, first of all, games releases on several platforms. We're aiming to release it on PC and Xbox. So I'm making sure that it's technically possible, that we meet all the requirements from the platforms, and controlling like the whole bunch of scope with some technical problems like bugs, like crashes, and of course some development tasks as well.
You mentioned Xbox there. Obviously, you've got the partnership. It is coming day and date to Game Pass. How important has that partnership been? And what's it kind of been like working with Xbox? I mean, it's coming out on Series S as well. You talk about technical issues. How has that been to work on?
I would like to mention that we received like a lot of support from Microsoft and from our ATG team that is supporting us throughout the development process, and they helped us a lot, like morally, technically, and of course we would like to thank them for this big opportunity to release our game day one on the Game Pass, because our target is to share the game to like really big audience, and Game Pass can provide us with this opportunity.
Does that a sort of, because obviously this is going to be a lot of people's very first Stalker game, and they're very singular. Well, the previous ones, very singular types of games. They're not necessarily for everyone. But now it's going to go out on a platform that is huge, and this, just this massive audience in front of it. Has that at all affected how you've designed this game? Have you tried to make it more potentially inviting for newer players to the series?
Yes, of course, because we're expecting like a lot of newcomers to the Stalker universe. And of course, we would like them to play the game, to get acquainted with it, and get acquainted with this world, with this universe. And we designed that way that everyone can see and feel like in like the most personal experience. So talking about the story and the storyline, we designed it that way that everyone can seek for their fate in the zone. And if you're like old school Stalker fan, you'll meet a lot of acquainted characters through your playthrough. But if you are new to the series, you will find like the new, amazing, and really big story. It is not mandatory to play the original trilogy, but it is really nice to have, because you will have like some additional context on what's going on, who's this guy, who are those guys from like several fractions, and so on and so on.
Moving on from the original games, now, what was something you guys set out, like mission statement, that you wanted to do differently compared to the old games? Because they have a very distinct feel, vibe. We're in a totally different generation of gaming. So what was the goal there? So
first and foremost, if we're comparing Stalker 2 to original trilogy, we moved to open world design, and you'll be able to explore this huge 60 square kilometers map like absolutely free. So you're free to go like wherever you want. You're free to do like wherever you want, and we're just making sure that this game and this world is alive, and our newly redesigned feature like A-Live 2.0 is helping with that.
When you are filling a huge open world, like, what is the process of doing that? Like, how do you make it feel completely like lived in? How do you make it feel like there is this bespoke content? And like, how do you know when to just let things breathe and let there be like, a bit of a gap in stuff, and like a bit of a place for people to wander in?
Thank you for this question. And I would like to start from the initial design, like the level design and the level art. So we've done this huge map, totally custom, and we barely used like any procedural generation for this world, and every location from like the big hubs to like the smallest villages and the smallest houses are made by hands of our talented level designers and level artists. So each location you will see in Stalker 2 is unique.
And when you're designing, I mean, like, what was the reason to go to open worlds? I mean, it's kind of been a bit of a double-edged sword for a lot of games in recent years where the maps feel big for the sake of being big. What was the thing that pushed the team to go open world for Stalker 2?
First of all, we added like a lot of new content and a lot of new context to the game. So it was kind of impossible to do it like in the old-fashioned locations way because it will be not so immersive.
I wanted to ask about why you think Stalker has retained so much currency over the years, you know, because we're talking about a game back in 2007 that was kind of rough around the edges in many ways, but despite that, it's still talked about with so much love and affection. Why do you think Stalker had such an impact back then, and why do you think it stayed so relevant all this time since?
First of all, it's the unique atmosphere of this place, because this place is quite unique, and players want to experience that again and again. So our main task with Stalker 2, one of the main tasks, was to preserve this unique atmosphere. And to be completely honest, it was quite of a challenge. In our case, talking about Stalker and why people love it, so I think it is about some kind of loneliness, some kind of an exploration of some dangerous and abandoned places, and of course the storyline.
And I was also in connection with that. I mean, the older games were famously quite rough around the edges. You know, there was like a bit of jank in there that I think is remembered very fondly now. Were you trying to retain some of that rough around the edges feel with this modern iteration, or were you looking to deliver something that's totally smooth, totally slick and polished? Like, how are you balancing that? Was that at all a factor in design?
If you're talking about like overall game polishing, so of course we're aiming to deliver like the best experience to the players all around the world, and of course now we are in a big polishing phase, and we are testing and fixing like a lot of problems, and so we can deliver it right. And if we're talking about, for example, game experience and balance stuff, so this is quite interesting question and one of my favorite topics. So I mentioned that we are aiming to deliver like the best experience for like any players, because there are a lot of players that are not acquainted, for example, with Stalker, and its unique gameplay loop. For this exact case, we designed several game difficulties, so everyone can enjoy what they would like to enjoy. So, for example, if you're looking just for story, okay, you can do that. If you're looking for like this rough, authentic Stalker experience, so you can just proceed with higher difficulty, and they vary a lot.
Well, also another thing I wanted to ask about in terms of balancing, how do you balance, or is it, I guess, mostly up to the player at this point, where it's balancing sort of moments of levity and, you know, happiness and like, you know, Easter eggs and things, to balancing just, you know, the really harsh and like the kind of horror aspects of the game, like, because you can't have it all be completely one note. Is it mostly up to the player to determine how they approach games, or do you like to kind of throw them curveballs every so often?
So we are balancing like with our atmosphere. So of course, the zone is not that kind of place that is quite friendly, and everyone you meet during your trip throughout the zone can help you, or maybe they're not. So you don't know that for sure until you like encounter them and try to speak with them, or maybe they will just start shooting at you, just even when they are seeing you like for the first time. And the main thing is here that each player will receive like his unique experience, because each decision he takes is having like long-term and short-term consequences.
I'm curious what games you guys have been playing while working on this game. Anything that maybe influenced the design, modern games, or maybe even looking at community stuff like Gamma?
Thank you. Just from my perspective, so I play like a lot of games, and all of our colleagues play in like a lot of games as well, and they are quite different. So it is really hard to like get influenced by something in terms of developing a Stalker game, because we have some limitations, for example, because we cannot add like, I don't know, some
making like Dark Souls.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is not our style, it is not our atmosphere. So it will be like really controversial topic on that, and we would like to not to do that. So we have some pretty strict rules on what we add, and it is all about the overall game vision that we sticking up to.
Obviously, the game comes out in a week from now. But you guys have already talked a lot about your like post-launch plans. Like you've definitely said, so there's already some expansions planned. There's multiplayer support, and there's mods are on the way as well. So tell us, what are those expansions? Like what's the deal with those?
We are preparing the post-launch roadmap as we speak, basically. So we did already announce that Stalker 2 will have 2 big expansions, like the story one. And regarding the whole post-launch support, I think we cannot share some like exact details on that. But talking of mod support, yes, we will have like official mod support and official modding SDK.
And for the studio, I mean, what plans? Is it just Stalker for the foreseeable future? Or are there other games that you got cooking up, other ideas?
Do another RTS?
I'm not sure if I could share the details. Not yet. Sorry, guys.
Okay, but there definitely are plans that you guys have got cooking for the future, and this is sort of just the start for you guys.
Of course, we're aiming to deliver like more and more amazing products, more and more amazing games that will be remembered like for, I would say, for decades.
I mean, on that note, sort of, you know, what does this game say? You know, like I mentioned at the top of the interview, this team has been through so much. What do you want this game to say to people who play it?
With this game, we came through a lot during the development, and our country is at war right now, and all of these horrible events, we would like to remind the whole world that Ukraine is capable of doing great games, and just play it, experience it, live through it, and of course enjoy it.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great place to end it, unless you guys have anything.
No, that's all. Thanks so much.
That was badass.
Yeah, thank you
We're
so
really
much.
looking forward to it, and wishing you and the team really well.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Time for another user question. This one is from the email address, which is contact@friendspersecond.com. We get a lot of emails through that, and so sorry that we can't get to all of them, but we do read
Thank
them
you
all,
for
and
them.
they are great. And sometimes if there's a very pointed question, I'll just respond.
I forgot the password. I don't see it.
I
Sorry,
do.
we handle
I
that. We handle all that.
No, someone asked what the female rook accent was because it was British, and they were
was it?
and they were like, Lucy, you don't have to read this out, but what is the accent? And it's northeast. It's from where I'm from. Anyway,
Okay.
anyway, this is from Lane Francella. Says, thank you for consistently putting out high quality content. I really enjoy listening to the bi-monthly podcast to get your perspectives on new releases on the current state of the gaming industry.
Thank you.
My user question is as follows. What is your favorite song from a game that instantly transports you back to a certain moment in the game? Recently, I listened to the Sonic Adventure Battle 2 soundtrack, and as soon as I heard the opening notes to the song Escape from the City, I could immediately see Sonic jumping out of a helicopter and snowboarding down the streets of presumably San Francisco. P.S. I regret to inform you that I am in fact one of those sickos that watches the vast majority of your content but has not consistently played a video game in 3 to 4 years. However, I just picked up an analog pocket and I'm looking forward to doing a bit of retro gaming.
We see you, we respect you, and also respect you even more for picking up something so alternative as a way to get back into games.
Still always so blown away by people who watch gaming content but don't play games.
Yeah, it's cool.
Seriously, I'm always so stunned when I hear that because it just does not compute with my brain. But these people exist, like 100%. You know it. You know, this is one of them. Is it Lane? What was the name?
Lane, yeah.
Lane, yeah. There you go. So, Lane, thank you. Man, there's just like so many tracks. I think the biggest one for me is like, you know, Best Is Yet to Come from Metal Gear 1.
Yeah.
Which I know we just keep going back to Metal Gear and all that question.
That was my answer too.
That's the problem with this podcast, you know. But like for real though, I think that was the first song that I'd ever, like video game song that I'd heard that really hit me in that way, because I think that was the dawn of like not the dawn of the PS1 era, but early in the PS1 life cycle, CD soundtracks or whatever else. Like there were cool game themes, of course, in previous, you know, games and that, you know, 16-bit era, of course, don't get me wrong, but just something about that track hitting in as the credits rolled and what it was, I don't know, man, just to this day, it just like still gets me so hard every single time. Unbelievable.
So mine's not a moment in a game, but I will never be able to uncouple Bullet with Butterfly Wings by the Smashing Pumpkins from Dead Space 2 because it was used in the trailer. And I just remember seeing that trailer all the time. And I actually went back to watch it when this question came in. I was like, yeah, Dead Space 2.
Yeah.
I have a couple quickies. So Ralph took my first answer. So my second Metal Gear answer is the Snake Eater ladder scene. Just that
unbelievable.
Pacing wise, the game letting you hear the whole song like that, I think that was just really smart and really creative and really cool. To Xanarkand from Final Fantasy X. That's a simple one, but that's like Nobuo Uematsu cooking, and also hearing that song and like seeing the characters all on screen for the first time, and like you don't know what's going on, but they all look like it's like they're not in a good state, and just kind of, you know, being like, what, like, I don't know, like seeing like a fully 3D like real ass Final Fantasy and being like, this is fucking crazy, what's gonna happen? And that beautiful song, it's just, I really love that. I had one more. Sorry. Beyond the Sea, Bobby Darin. The whole BioShock thing is so fucking good, and how that motif is used in the game specifically. Yeah. When you get into the lighthouse and the lights click, clack, clack on, and you hear the slow like violin version of the older version of the song. And you're walking down those steps and you see the bathysphere. You get it. You're like, what is going on? It's I will never like be able to uncouple that from that.
True.
My stomach just let out the biggest growl ever. I'm just gonna own it.
The mic didn't catch it.
Oh no, it did. I looked over in a panic and the levels went up.
Nice. Make sure it's Stu in post. Could you just jack those levels on that moment, please? Make sure we catch that one.
I also think, I mean, you know, it's easy to say Kingdom Hearts and Simple and Clean and Passion. Like every time I hear, you know, Simple and Clean, I just see Sora going through the water. And obviously, like there are some songs that are just used to such effect. Like Far Away, Jose Gonzalez in Red Dead. Like that is a moment that is just so lifted by the music choice. But I also have a song that is not in a game, as far as I know, but it always reminds me of a certain game because I was just sort of in the vicinity playing it at the same time, and that is Static by Beck from Mutations. I was playing Okami at the same time, and for some reason, every time I hear that song, I'm kind of transported to the Shinshu plains of fields of Okami.
That's cool.
Similar, actually, with me with like Perfect Circle, when I was like just grinding WoW, like a fucking just no life in that game. That was all I was doing, and I would be like up at like 2 a.m. just, you know, on, you know, just like grinding dailies, and I'd be listening to Perfect Circle, thinking life is never going to get better than this. And you know what? I was fucking right.
It's all downhill from there.
Hi, we've actually got Ralph's family on the line right here.
No, it was but they were really good carefree uni days where like you could just do that sort of shit, and so that was cool. I think a lot about like I listen to the Skyrim soundtrack a lot as well, and I think just like Distant Horizons. I don't know if you guys know that track.
Yeah,
I think it's like the quintessential Skyrim track, which is just like you're on the open road and you're just like, what's around that corner? You know what I mean? So that's just very transportive. And like Outer Wilds, obviously, just when the clock strikes and stuff happens, which I won't spoil.
Yeah.
That song that kicks in every time is just like very, and like basically all of the Nier Automata soundtrack as well kind of falls into that category. So
yeah, I do feel like we can keep going.
Like there's so many. I listen to video game soundtracks a lot.
I'm a big lo-fi like Morrowind guy. Like I just have Morrowind on in the background.
Yeah. There's someone on Spotify called Lo-Fi Leah who does lo-fi versions of video game songs, and they're really, really good. But obviously, you know, like Tears by Health, like the end of Max Payne 3, like I will always think of that. But also like Hall & Oates, I'll think back to GTA. Or you know, that kind of like every I was gonna say if you want to get into the
Snoop Dogg just makes still think of GTA 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
like Superman, Goldfinger for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Like
oh yeah, totally.
As soon as it every time.
Actually, and also whenever I hear like Seven Nation Army, I'm always just go back to that Battlefield 1 trailer.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Which is like one of the greatest reveal trailers, and just like that song with that like. Unbelievably perfect, just incredibly hype, unbelievable. Battlefield 1, man, what an all-timer, like absolute all-timer.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think we covered a lot.
We could just list game soundtracks endlessly and like,
I don't know, it's basically like songs what we like.
Songs what
we should do a whole episode on that at some point.
Yeah, sure. It's a shame though that, and maybe that's one we just have to like put up and just cop the copyright on it, because like we could actually play the songs as we went through.
Listening
and the
party.
movie would, and the video would get claimed obviously, but fuck it, who cares? It's just like, it would be a cool episode. So, yeah.
Lane, thank you again for your question, and for everyone else who has been sending them in. It's time now for what we have been playing. I will go to Ralph first because I'm really interested to hear about this one.
So, okay. So I'm going to say we're recording this on Tuesday American time.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And this won't go up to the weekend, by which time the embargo for this game will already be out. The game is Lego Horizon Adventures, I think it's called. Is it Lego Adventures or it's Lego Horizon Adventures. Okay. So I think I've played around a third of this to this point, right? I looking at the menus and the unlocks and the overall pacing of it, it feels like I've done like a third. And man, I'm really not vibing with this one at all. Like it's nothing is really working for me. And look, I think I'll preface all of this by saying this one is very squarely aimed at kids.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think there's two types of games aimed at kids, okay? There are your kids games, which are aimed at kids, but also for adults, okay? And you're talking like a lot of Nintendo titles fall into that category. And, you know, like Astro Bot's a really good example of that. And, you know, like, I'd even argue like, you know, your Ratchet and Clanks and your Jak and Daxter and like all that sort of shit.
Or that Piglet game. Did you guys see that Piglet game?
Oh, yeah, the Haunted Piglet game.
No, which one was this?
I'll fill you in later. It's incredible.
All right, okay, right. But... You know, so there's that, and that the level of sophistication and depth and quality appeals to adults as well as to children, right? Then there's the games that are just aimed at kids, okay, and they're much more simple and straightforward, and that's that. So, this one is, to me, as I played through a third of it, very squarely in that second bucket of just being aimed at kids, because it's so simple and so straightforward that I'd be really surprised if adults are really into this. So therefore, when I say that I don't like it, I'm not saying I think this game is shit, right? Because I think it is kind of fun and silly, and it looks really pretty. It handles well. It's got some, you know, the combat is surprisingly snappy and fun, and, you know, whatever else. It's just that as I'm playing through it, it never, so far, one third the way in or whatever else, I don't know how many hours, maybe 4 hours I played. never changes. It's exactly the same every time. You get dropped onto a linear map, you run around for a bit, like you going across a zip line and finding a hidden chest. You get dropped into a little arena that's just a big empty space, and you got to kill some dinosaurs. Usually there's 2 waves of dinosaurs that rock up, and then you kill them and you're like, cool, done. And then you go through the rest of the level, which again, totally linear, just a few chests to find or whatever. Then you get to another arena where there's more dinosaurs to kill and some humans who are hanging around for some reason. And that's it. That's it. You just do that over and over again. And there's some cutscene-y stuff in there as well, where they just sort of lighthearted banter between the characters. There's some stuff back at base where you get to customize your base, you'll unlock different designs for buildings you can build, like one of them will look like the Ninjago stuff, another one looks like a police thingo, and another one looks like whatever, like Lego themed stuff. There's also plenty of cosmetic outfits you can collect for your characters, sure. That's it. That's all I've experienced so far. And I could be totally wrong about this in the sense that at the 5-hour mark, it's totally different and all new mechanics set up and it's incredible. But I'd be very surprised if that was the case, because just the level of consistency that I've experienced in this opening block, how unchanging it is, it's not really doing it.
Do you think it at the very least, does it set up or showcase the characters and the world in a way that would be intriguing enough to a child to then make that kid go, oh, I want to play one of the adult Horizon games?
So that's a really interesting and layered question, I think, because everyone has very different views about the Horizon IP. The IP sells a lot, but I've always said that I don't think many people harbor a deep love and affection for that IP.
It's the avatar of games.
Yes, exactly right. As I've said
multiple times, Skill Up is the avatar enjoyer of the Horizon.
And I am an avatar enjoyer, just as I am a Horizon enjoyer. I'm very on the record as really loving these games, actually, way more than most people. But I love them for just how cool it is to run around shooting robot dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I love them in spite of how poorly written I think they often are.
Can't believe you would chuff and say that. Is it chuff? Oh,
chuff?
There's a swear word that they use. How Battlestar Galactica has frack.
Remember. Oh, sure.
Yeah, they have one of those. It's like chuff or something.
I hate those. I hate that trope so much.
You don't like
it's
crispy critters?
It's like Firefly when they swore in Chinese. It pissed me off so much. Why are you doing this? Anyway, I digress. The point of what I'm saying is that the Horizon IP, the characters I think are so blandly written most of the time that they don't have things that you can kind of make fun of. And so this game kind of has to invent its own version of the characters that could then be riffed on. You can't really make fun of Aloy because she's so self-serious all the time. If you tried to joke around with the real Aloy, she would not understand it almost. She's one of those people that would probably get very actually offended because she doesn't seem like she could joke around. You know what I mean?
My focus is telling me that this is a joke.
Totally, So I think that really shines through in what I've experienced as well, because they're just trying to shoehorn in general playful banter rather than actual parodies and riffs on the characters. I
was gonna say there's nothing in those games that is remotely funny. There's no comic relief.
There's the one guy who's kind of the security guard dude who I think he has a massive crush on Aloy at some point, and then she just hard friend zones him. That's kind of funny inadvertently. But other than that, there's really not a lot. And so I think that's another reason I struggle with it, because I think part of the promise of a Lego game is here's this thing that you love and that's got full of character and full of whatever. And now we're going to skewer it with some funny writing. And so you're like, all right, cool. I'm up to make fun of Captain America, and we can have some jokes about Batman, and this is sick, But then you come here and you're like, well, what jokes are you going to tell about the person that Aloy travels with that I don't even remember his name?
Maybe she can't pick up something because her pack is full.
Jokes about how she always needs the puzzle solution explained to her, maybe. That's one that would land really well. But so far they haven't made that joke. So I don't know, they're missing that beat on that one. So, again, I would just come back to, I don't know how this is going to land critically. I'll be interested to see what the reviews say tomorrow. I personally am not vibing with it. Again, but I will say this. If you have a child and you want to play a co-op game with them, I think this is a pretty good pick because there aren't a lot of co-op friendly kids games. This is co-op friendly. It's 2-player all the way through. It has multiple difficulty levels that are going to make it really easy for, however old that kid would be. It is very lighthearted and straightforward. It is very pretty, and to its credit, it's the first Lego game to be built entirely out of Lego, right? And what I mean by that is Lego games typically have used general non-Lego art assets to build its levels, and then some parts of them have then had some Lego components. But this one, if you look at it, it's actually just entirely Lego components that they've used to build it. So it's a really nice visual effect.
That's impressive.
But it's also, it's not as destructible as you might hope. With that kind of concept, you might think, you might expect lots of destructible environments because it's all Lego, but it's not all Lego. It's just visually Lego, but functionally it's not, Hello, dog.
Hi.
Hello.
And so, again, I want to be really clear with all my criticism on this, which is that for kids, when you look for a co-op game, I suspect this will be great and fun and simple and lighthearted. But for adults, I suspect there's not really much here for you, and this is nowhere near that same conversation as Lego Star Wars, for example, which is unbelievably good. And I would heartily recommend that to most adults, just because that is a fantastic video game, but on so many metrics. This is definitely not in that ballpark at all.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I expected. It was always a weird one.
It was a weird one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When you heard it released, you were like,
really?
Lego Horizon, all right, fair enough,
I
I would be very interested to see how this one sells, right? In the sense that the Horizon games have always sold a boatload, but will this one do the same?
Do the kids know what Horizon is?
And would you want to buy this for your kid? Look, I'll put it this way.
when you don't even know what it is.
No, but I would say for a kid, I would buy it for them just because it's a fun co-op game, but I would not be excited to share with them the IP that is Horizon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's different than Star Wars.
And exactly, if I'm giving them Star Wars or Batman or Spider-Man, I'm like, yes, I'm going to make you like me. You're going to like the things that I like, Whereas if I'm handing them Horizon, I'm just like, here's Horizon. I guess it's a thing we can play for a while if you like. Oh, you're bored of this? Sure, let's go play something else. You know what I mean? Whereas if they were bored of Lego Star Wars, they'd be like, no, we are finishing this, okay? Until
and
you
will
like
love it.
Correct. So a different level of connection to the IP on that basis. But I don't know. Are you guys planning on playing this at all?
No.
Or is this no. Oh man, that's brutal. Jesus Christ! I was just asking for
We didn't even plan that either.
soft no. That's brutal.
I mean, come on. I mean, I'm not a Horizon enjoyer. I kind of been on record and said that. So, no, not for me.
Yeah. Fair. So no. Interested to see the results. No, the review. Sorry.
Before we jump forward, did I talk about Metro Awakening last week?
No.
Last podcast?
You did not.
We didn't.
No.
Okay.
I'm hella keen to hear about it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the
good.
VR
I just
one,
wanted to
right?
make sure. Yes.
I think you'd just gotten it. I don't think you'd even started playing it.
Okay. Yeah.
Tell us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's decent. It's maybe after coming off of Arkham Shadow, it's a little tough in terms of quality, polish, and expert pacing. I think for me it kind of ran out of steam after a few hours in terms of what you're doing and the very simple levels and objectives. But the moment to moment stuff and how they translated Metro gameplay to VR is very cool to see. It is very survival horror-y. It is very desperate. And I really like it for that. You're going through dark hallways, you have your little headlamp, and that's how you turn it on. You click your forehead to turn on your little headlamp.
Really?
It'll run out of battery, so it'll start to flicker. So then you have to Last of Us style take out your backpack, and your backpack holds you can view at a glance on your backpack all your stuff. Your filters for your gas mask. Your gas mask is on the side. You can take it off, put it on your face. You can pull off the little charger thing that they have in Metro games to charge your flashlight and charge rooms and stuff. So that stuff is really, really intuitive and cool and well done. The gunplay is pretty brutal. It requires insane accuracy
Really?
Yeah, and
Interesting.
It is tough.
Are there like adjustable difficulties?
Somewhat, yeah, but like you got to really like. I hope you know how to aim a gun because like that's how it's like it's pinpoint.
Sure.
And not forgiving, and that's good for a Metro game. I think it should be like that, and I think it does a really good job of that desperation, especially like you're fighting like the monsters and stuff, but when you're like fighting humans and you're scrambling around and you never have enough health, you never have enough ammunition, and like you'll kill a guy, you'll like scramble and grab his AK, you'll take the AK, you'll pull the magazine out and look and see how many bullets you have, you slap it in and you're like, oh fuck, like just like getting sweaty trying to like dome guys around corners in like the pitch black. That stuff's really good. There is some stealth and it's a little limited. I wish there was a bit more. The rules for it are a little finicky, but it's a good time. I think, like I think I said in my video, like it's not like a run out and play it right away unless you're a diehard Metro person, because there is some interesting story stuff. But I'd say if you're a VR enjoyer, consider checking it out at some point, because like I said, even if I think it kind of runs out of steam, just seeing how they got the Metro gameplay and feel right in VR is cool. And I played it through PC VR as well. So
okay,
it's on
So
everything.
you didn't use MetaQuest?
No, which
Okay,
is cool. I like that. I like plugging my VR headset into my PC and doing the whole thing. So, yeah.
I was interested to see how it would run on Meta, because like, I don't know, yeah, if it's also going to other platforms, like what's the delta between what the Meta 3 can do versus like your high-end PC kind of thing?
Yeah, it seems like from what I had seen in videos, it seems like it's running pretty well.
Okay.
It is a very simplistic game, and even on PC VR, like the character models aren't the greatest looking.
Sure.
The levels are simple. It's more about like the lighting and how they use darkness, and you're in a vent shaft and you have your little lighter and you take out your lighter. Like that stuff is more effective graphically. But yeah, that's a thing.
I'm really interested in it because it's actually quite an interesting year for VR at the last 3 months, because we got Batman last month. Or was it this month? It was this month. And then we had obviously this, and then in December we've also got an Alien VR game.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Alien Incursion.
Something.
Oh, good about
Incursion.
that.
Yeah. So like it's kind of cool to see these bigger, IP driven games come into VR, because I mean they generate interest obviously.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the thing with me, right? Is that like I really enjoy VR and I try and play it as much as I can. The problem is that my job takes me to playing games that are like the big games, the games I talk about. So there's a lot of VR stuff I've wanted to try, or like in smaller VR games that innovate that I either haven't been able to check out, or I have and I haven't really been able to talk about them because, it doesn't really, like, people don't watch. So it's been nice at the very least to have Arkham and now Metro, recognizable IP that get people to like perk up and peek back into VR a little bit. So I'm happy to talk about those at least.
Yeah.
How long
Say
is
what
it?
I tried. Sorry, go Liz.
Oh, so I was gonna say, how long is it?
I think it's over 10 hours. Like it's pretty full-fledged.
One day I'll be able to be in VR for more than 10 minutes. Like I'm playing Batman Arkham VR, but I'm like Arkham Shadow, and I'm doing it like literally 10 minutes at a time, just to acclimatize myself, acclimate to it.
Yeah.
Because of
I know,
my
I'm sorry.
Victorian constitution, apparently.
You know what I tried? I tried the Apple Vision Pro this week.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, that's off topic. Interesting. Like, it's actually, because I'm a big MetaQuest 3.
Do you want to buy mine? Can you please buy mine off me?
I thought you were
I
sending
need
yours
cash.
back.
I'm a big enjoyer of the MetaQuest 3 headset. I think it does a great job.
Yeah.
And even then, I was still very impressed by what the Vision Pro can do. Like, but it's all proof of concept at this point, right? They have this like really cool demo where you're like sitting courtside and like LeBron dunks on your head or whatever during the game, because like the cameras are all set up that you just feel like you're directly under the rim, and it's crazy. And you're like, shit, man. But then you realize like that doesn't exist yet, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of the, like, as a media content, like a media consumption device, I think it's actually incredible. Like just being able to sit there and like watch a show in the screen or whatever, the fidelity of it is wild.
Is great.
The quality is unbelievable. Like, it's crazy. And even some of the photo stuff, like panoramic photos, you kind of stand there and you can look around in almost 360 in panoramic photos. The sound quality on it just completely shits all over the MetaQuest 3. Like just, and that's pretty decent in itself, So from a technical perspective, and like the gesturing, by the way, you could just like have your
input's
hands
great.
in your lap. You can have your hands in your lap and be gesturing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the Meta Quest 3, it does hand gesturing, but you need to like have the hands right in front of you and shine a fucking torch on your hand to make sure it works, you know? So again, it's super impressive tech, but it's just like the use case just isn't there yet, and there's not enough applications to support it. And I don't know, man. I hope that they stick with it, but I don't know. Like I'm just not seeing them
Especially with
investing in
Apple
it.
being kind of like walled off in a lot of ways as they always have been. Like I don't know. I don't know how far people can push it, but
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that. Yeah.
I feel
So
like
I don't know,
Apple's
like-
going to say, all right, cool, we're going to wait a second and we're just going to go into glasses, because I think glasses have kind of been the proof. Like it seems like people really like the Meta Ray-Ban.
Oh yeah,
I never
They're
thought
not. That's not them. They're not AR or whatever. Like the only thing that.
But I just
so-
mean in
Just
terms of
like
like
for
people
filming.
adapting weird shit on their face.
Yes.
wearables
Yeah,
are back,
that's
baby. Google Glass.
That's right. No, but
God,
there
I miss
there
it.
is stuff like that coming, you know, and like Zuck revealed some stuff, and there's a few other like devices like that are out now
Yeah.
that are very early though. Like you can tell this is at least 5 years away before we start getting this stuff for real. But
Damn.
yeah, I don't know. Just it's going to be really interesting to see how this space evolves, like the VR space and whatever. Because I still maintain that on the gaming side, I don't think the games like Batman and whatever. I don't think that's really where this goes. You know what I mean? Like you look at a Half-Life Alyx, which obviously was incredible. You know, amazing. But the install base isn't there. Consumers just don't necessarily want to use a VR headset like that to play games. They just don't like it. And I think they've kind of decided that they generally don't like it. Like, yeah, so I think these sorts of like this headset and whatever, it's more about social experiences, you know, VR chat and like entering those worlds and like media consumption. The idea that like AAA games are going to be a regular feature on VR headsets, just it seems like the market has said, nah, that's not going to happen, you know? Happy to be proven wrong on that, but that's kind of my vibe.
Yeah, it's definitely going more in the direction of how can people be more online 24/7 and not about gaming.
Plug
It's
me
more
in.
just
I think
like,
that's
can I
it.
have,
And I think
can I have
Ready
more
Player One
shit
machine.
at my face at all times?
And then I think like gaming will naturally become a byproduct of that would then kind of blossom again. But I definitely see it, and I think we're in it right now. We're in the dip where there's like, yeah, we've got 3 big AAA sort of VR games coming now, but man, when's the next ones after that? And like, what are we seeing in that space? Not a lot.
I mean,
And
Meta
it feels like it's gonna.
Ready at Dawn, like
Yeah.
studios and
They're burning so much cash. Like it just feels like it'll get worse before it gets better on the gaming front for VR. That's my prediction. But I do think it'll get better eventually, but not with these big headsets like we have now. I think it's when that technology becomes like the little glasses that you put on, then it could really pop off.
Or it can
and, like,
trick
I can
your
see that
brain
working.
into making you feel like you're in the game.
Yeah, like Lawnmower Man and shit.
Yeah.
Demolition Man.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the seashells, baby. Let's go.
I finished Veilguard.
Oh, I want to hear about this. Hell yeah.
Dragon Age.
So obviously, pretty depressing couple weeks with layoffs over at fandom, and a lot of my friends are impacted, and then stress around the election and stuff. So I was like, it was funny that I kind of threw myself into Veilguard because everything that annoyed me about the writing was actually quite. I kind of endeared. I got endeared to a little bit. I mean, the like the happy-go-lucky writing and stuff, kind of pulled me through Act 1 and 2, and I finished it the other night, and I cannot cope with the amount that those characters repeat what you are doing back to you. I think it was worse than Aloy in terms of just talking and just saying the same thing over and over again, and I was like getting annoyed by it at the end. And I'm not going to spoil it. Overall, I have just such complicated feelings on it. We spoke about it in the last episode with Paul Tassi, but it's like such a messy game, beautiful game, stunning. I love the environments. I love how stuff looks. But when everything's coming together, and especially the writing, it's just not strong enough to really carry a Dragon Age title, sadly. There are some really good character moments. I'm so frustrated with my romance choice.
Oh man,
because I
don't even
picked
start with that.
Lucanus, and I mean, there's slow burn, and then there's whatever the hell that was, and you know, I did care about the characters of the Veil Guard by the end, but it's nothing compared to Mass Effect's cast, or even like Dragon Age 1 and 2 and Inquisition, and so it's just like, it feels very weird. And I said this in the last episode, like, you wait 10 years for something, it's never going to be what you have built it up in your mind to be. I think there's still a lot that I did like about Veilguard. I think, like I said last time, it's like, it's just very playable, and like I can just dip in, there's something to do, and that sounds like a diss, but I think when I needed it was like a comfort sort of game. Yeah, I don't know. It's actually really made me want to replay Origins, which I haven't done since I first played it, you know.
Yeah, it's really annoyed me about how much like revisionism there is. The writing in BioWare games has always been shit. I'm like, fuck you. No, it hasn't. Okay, that's bullshit. It's so annoying to read all that shit.
Yeah, that was insane to me. Like, I will say, but the prize from Mass Effect 2, that's a terrible line. That's a line that has gone down in history. Jacob hitting on Commander Shepard. But like, you can't have lines like some of the stuff that Saren says, or some of the stuff that like Sovereign, even Mordin, like, had to be me. Someone else would have gotten it wrong. Like, those iconic lines. I can only think of one such line from Veilguard that really made me like, that's good. That was good.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I know everyone's sick of me talking about Veilguard. I know, I get that 100%, right? So I'm not going to say much on it, but like, yeah, it's been very interesting to track the overall reception to that game in the last, like, you know, week.
Yeah,
I think now that
I'm on the subreddit.
I mean, and that's honestly, the subreddit is brutal, by the way. I mean, there are some people who are enjoying it for sure, absolutely, right? I don't want to create the impression that there's not, but there's absolutely like a critical mass of people on that subreddit who are just like, yo, this sucks.
Yeah.
And you know, it's very much where I expected it to land. You know, I think it is. I think it's a very disappointing title. It's roughly 70%, you know, positive on Steam right now, and that number keeps falling. I just think it's disappointing, and I just think, and I think even people who like it are kind of agree, like, yeah, the writing sucks, and it's kind of like, well, that's what you play a BioWare game for, man. Like, that's it. If you can't get that right, then like, you're really fucked. And I really wonder what BioWare are going to do about this, because you can't just be like, oh, well, let's just have another crack. Like, no, you need to fix whatever went wrong here, because your games completely rest on this. Like, this is their like central thing. And unless you can nail this, then that's it. So, I mean, when it comes to like a Mass Effect title, I wonder what kind of rethinking they're doing internally. I do wonder how well the game's sold. That's a big question mark right now. And I wonder if EA are happy with the ROI on it. Because as we all know, EA are not like, you know, they're not particularly sentimental, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, we obviously want BioWare to keep like surviving and thriving and moving on to the next big thing. But we just don't know, because obviously a game like that with so many years in development, so many staff on it for so long. But yeah, like, bottom line for me, it was a big disappointment, and I think the reception to it post launch has not surprised me, because I really think that
it's kind
is
of
where I expected to land.
Oh, however, though, let's tell you about a game that fucking rocks.
Go on.
Rise of the Golden Idol.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ed's been loving this one as well, man. Ed, shut up about it.
He's a sicko like me. I knew he's got.
This is like a puzzle thing, right?
Yes.
Or a mystery
detective thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Detective game. So, Case of the Golden Idol came out when? 22? No.
It was recent, wasn't it? I feel like it was 22. Yeah.
And then Rise of the Golden Idol, the sequel, was announced at Game Awards last year. It's coming out. It's out now. It's available. Like, I didn't realize they were going to Netflix day and date. So if you've got Netflix, you can play it on your phone or whatever. I'm playing it on PC and having a blast. So it is continuation of the original game, which follows the mysterious Golden Idol and the impact that this artifact has on people, and the cult that has, and all the murders that follow in the wake that has sprung up around this particular artifact. And so what it does is it presents you with essentially a diorama with slight animations, you know, characters kind of going, you know, kind of insinuating a bit of movement, but you don't see the whole thing. And then what you do is you click on things in the scene, point and click, and then you have to deduce what happened. So one of the first things you should do if you're playing the game is you have to figure out the names of everyone in the scene. And sometimes it'll be as easy as they're wearing a name badge, or they are wearing a certain item of clothing, and then there's a note that you find. Sometimes you really have to deduce them. There's like one where there's dead bodies on a table, and you have to figure out and they're covered. You have to figure out which one's which. And then you have to figure out, sometimes there'll be other objectives like figuring out, there are these thumbprints all across the scene. You have to figure out, one of them's covered in Cheez-Its, so you know who that one is. And then the main thing you have to figure out is what happened in the scene, and the process from not process of elimination, sorry. You have to figure out what happened in the scene, and you have to basically deduce from everything that is in front of you, all of the words that you've picked up, because once you click on certain things, you kind of bank that word. And then you have to just watch it and kind of just figure out what happens. And it is the most delicious puzzling, it's my favorite kind, deduction. And it is so good. And I'm so thrilled. And they made little quality of life tweaks from the first game, in that you can now have little floating windows, and you can have them all up at once or all down at once. And so I think that update is now available in the original game. I think it's the Redux that they're calling it. It's just really great, and it's messed up. There are these people who want this artifact, and they will go to any lengths to get it. And so a lot of the time what you're doing is solving murders. Sometimes people just be on fire, or it's just really good, and I love it. I'm loving sitting in front of the couch with my notepad and taking notes and stuff and trying to figure it out, because I'd love a puzzle game. Lorelei earlier in the year, same deal. If a game really makes me punch the air when I get an answer right, that's when you know it is so good. And there are hints inside the game, but they're not. I would argue sometimes even they're not very helpful.
Right. Okay.
So it's great. I really, really recommend it.
In terms
I've actually
of challenge,
just downloaded.
Oh, sorry. Go
You
ahead.
go on. I was gonna say, I just downloaded while I was here actually in my hotel room. I've downloaded the original and the sequel, just because I saw Ed's gushing about it, and I'm like, all right, I gotta fucking play this game now, So while I'm traveling, I'll try and squeeze it in on Steam Deck or whatever. But it plays okay on Steam Deck, right?
I don't know.
Okay, because it's point and click.
Well, no, because when I got it, the build was a little bit earlier, so I don't know if they'd implemented all that stuff yet. But I'm on Steam right now. It does have Xbox controller support, so I assume it's unknown Steam Deck compatibility. But if it's got controller support, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, that should be fine. They're usually okay like that. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
In terms of challenge, with you, right? And I hear a lot of people with these games, they have notes and they write notes. Is that for love of the game, or is it really that challenging, or is this something I don't need to write notes? I can just raw dog it with my big brain.
I think you can raw dog it with your big brain.
Okay.
I like to make notes because sometimes there will be things. So there was a puzzle I was doing the other day, and it was different lockers. And in each locker, there would be a different combination of things, like books and a coat, or a books and a pair of glasses and stuff. And so for me, just having that at a glimpse to be able to be that was this person's locker, for example, or figuring out. Because also, sometimes when you have the way that my brain works is that if I have it all in front of me, I can more easily draw the lines together. Because, sometimes there will be this person has these books in their locker. And then you have to actually figure out what their role is at this lab. And you're if they have those kinds of books, they're probably this kind of person.
So yeah, deductive, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's a lot of, and just having that on a piece of paper in front of me really, really helps.
Yeah.
Also, there are symbols that are kind of an ongoing thing throughout.
So you're doing a little bit of the witness type of...
Yeah, you should. Okay. You should definitely make note of the symbols. It's great.
Interesting.
I'm having a great time. Jake, you've been playing Neva.
Yeah, I want to know what you think about this, because I'm only about halfway through.
I'm about an hour or so in. I'm not very far.
This is Neva, the one from the people who made Gris.
Yes.
Which is pronounced Greece.
Is it just because
Neva?
Is it because Neva is something that Australians would say? Oh, that's never gonna happen.
That is not. That is a New Zealand pronunciation. Okay, just to be clear, Kiwis will confirm that is how they would say that.
Yeah, it's the one. If people have seen the trailer, the best way, it's the one with like you're a girl and it's beautiful art style, and you have like a big wolf dog with you, and it looks heartfelt. And I can confirm that it is all of those things. It's kind of exactly what I expected jumping in. It's got pretty basic hacky slashy dodge combat, nothing too crazy. A lot of just beautiful art and music and moments, and the game is very much designed around getting you to care for this animal, who is very capable. But like you have the button, you can call to them, and sometimes they fall behind, or that stuff seems to really be working for me, and it is gorgeous. I actually ran into a problem though, because I was playing it on Steam Deck, and there are a lot of times where it pans out to show how beautiful everything is, but you still have to do things as your little character on screen. And on Steam Deck, I'm like, oh, I can't see, so I had to switch to monitor. But yeah, so far it's a very simple, heartfelt adventure. Like you, cool girl, fighting for nature against the forces of like the evil corrupting force, and your beautiful animal creature. It's something that we've seen before, but just done in a nice way with a good presentation so far.
Yeah.
Unless like something happens in the second half, like there's a big twist and she gets a gun, then it'll be even cooler.
Then it's game of the year.
That's right.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, the opening was very reminiscent of Ori, and there are definite not to say that it is a platformer in any way on the same, like in terms of platforming, Ori is another level, but there are definitely some notes that reminded me of it in terms of emotional beats. There's also like little chase sequences a couple of times that was very
Did you guys play Gris?
Yeah,
I played a little bit of it.
I really loved it. I mean, it is vibes. That's all.
This is a bit more traditional game, where like I feel like I'm doing stuff.
Right? Yeah, but I mean, the Berliner soundtrack is still one that I listen to this day.
Oh, they've done this one too.
Yeah, they have, and so I'm really excited to check it out for that reason. But yeah, I'm really keen. I love what they did the first time around. The artists, they're like more artists than game makers, I think, in terms of how they think of themselves. They're like artists who happen to make a video game. And
the environments are incredible.
Yeah, it's stunning. It really is. It's like if you enjoy Journey and Abzu and you play Gris, and if you're in that space where you just like that kind of vibes based platformer that's about soaking up beautiful moments, then Gris was very much that, and certainly what I've seen of certainly what I've seen of the reviews of this say that this sort of the same sort of thing, which I'm totally down for.
I wish though there was like a little more. The combat to me feels a bit like weightless, and I wish there was a little bit more grit and like feedback to kind of. I'm playing on PC with an Xbox controller for the record, and I kind of wish there was something a little bit more in that department. But everything else is very pretty. I think it really does a really good job of having these moments, and crucially, like the dog, the wolf, Neva. There's a dedicated pet button, but sometimes that's needed to progress. Like if you kind of get through a really tough section together, and then you end. And you can't really go anywhere, and you give her a hug, and then something else will open up. And so it's a really nice, I don't want to call it just a mechanic, but it's like this reinforcement of the bond between the two characters, which I think is really nice. I think that's done really well. And
little touches like contextual stuff, where if the creature is off screen and you press the call button, her voice tone changes. She says things a little differently. If you don't even know where the animal is, she'll be worried and frustrated when you press that call button. It's very, very moment to moment, scene to scene contextual. And I thought that was just clever little stuff like that. Meanwhile, my dog right now is trying to kill me. What are you doing? Excuse me.
Oh, he's doing great. It's another one of those games where it's like, I just think it's neat.
Yeah, and that's good. That's needed sometimes.
Yeah,
100%. For sure.
Is there anything else you guys want to say about the PS5 Pro?
No, I think I am optimistic about its future.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good console over time as games get made for it, rather than trying to be retrofit into it.
Yes.
And so right now, I don't think it's necessarily a great purchase, but with a price drop and with a bigger library of games that are ready for it, could end up being a very solid pickup, right?
Yeah.
But right now, I think you just maybe hold on to your pennies and see what happens. That's my vibe.
Yep. I totally agree with that.
Yep. Yep.
Jake, did you get any sand in it when you took it to the beach?
No, I did not. We were very, very careful. People think that like we're reckless when we do this, but we are very, very careful, very ginger with it. It was cold though. It was incredibly cold on the beach.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
A East Coast beach in November.
Yeah, it was rocky, cold.
Sure.
There's like some guys smoking dope down by the docks, you know. It was a good time. It's worth it.
Yeah. All right. Should we talk about stuff that's not video games?
Yes.
Yeah.
Show and tell. Jake, I want you to go first because I'm interested to hear about this one.
So Netflix has a Tomb Raider animated show. I've been trying to do more cardio, and my exercise bike, I can put Netflix on it and watch stuff. So I've been looking for like bite-sized little shows to watch, and I didn't want like the gritty crime drama of The Penguin while I'm being sweaty and winded while I'm exercising. So I watched Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. It's a Netflix produced animated thing, and it's fine.
Which Lara voices it?
It's Haley Atwell, which is awesome. She should just be Tomb Raider in real life, if you ask me. But it's essentially I guess it's a continuation of the new reboot trilogy, Lara.
Okay.
But it feels stuck within the constraints of what they did with those games. It doesn't like those games themselves. I feel like they had a lot of trouble like really pushing Lara into more interesting, you know, making her cooler, making her more Tomb Raider-y. And the show kind of does the same thing. She does get cool like dual pistols at the end, but it's still very much, it's just Lara with her pickaxe and Jonah, her faithful friend Jonah, still being like, Lara, you have to be careful, and like him saving her ass every time. It's still like the same stuff, but it has moments where the action is really good.
Okay.
Like really good. I really didn't care for the story or any of the side characters, but you get little moments of like a motorcycle chase, like a Lara Croft, like real like old ass Tomb Raider Lara Croft motorcycle chase through the streets of London at night. She's got like a cocktail dress on with like the slit down the side, and she's like doing jumps and shit. And like that was really cool. She fights a dinosaur. She shoots a dinosaur with a gun.
Good.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. So it has moments, but it didn't really feel like it was worth the ride.
How many episodes is it?
I believe 8.
Okay, so it's not.
If you really liked reboot Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and you want more of her and Jonah, sure. But I don't know. It's less compelling when you're not playing it and you're not in it.
I get it. I've just never been a fan of Tomb Raider, really, full stop. Like even the first games that I played, I'm like, this controls like shit. Even back then, I thought that controlled like shit. You know what I mean? So I just was never got into it.
Miserable.
Yeah, no. I just I don't understand how we did that. Like it's like when you go back and play GoldenEye and realize how we used to play first-person shooters. You're like, how the fuck did this happen? Like who let this happen?
No, my time is returning because they did the Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 remaster re-release with updated controls and stuff. Now they're doing the second half of that with more Tomb Raider games, including Angel of Darkness.
Angel of Darkness, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, those were like, they were kind of straddling the kind of like, we're going to try and fix some of this weird shit that we do with our controls and whatever, but we're not going to fully fix it. Like, we're going to go halfway.
You're still going to do dumb stuff. And you're still going to have to hold like L1 and triangle to climb.
Exactly.
And like pixel perfect, like getting yourself up to the ledge.
And doing the little shimmy.
Hold to grab.
Yep. So bad, man. It's just. Yeah. That was just the gamification of bad controls. That really was. They're like, let's build an entire IP based on bad controls, you know?
I will defend to the ends of the earth. I defend Resident Evil tank controls, but Lara Croft, I can't.
Sure.
Lara Croft.
No, I totally agree with you.
Tomb
But
Raider
it's a
controls,
different...
I can't.
Tank controls where you have to just walk slowly are fine. Tank controls where you have to like jump over little ledges and no. Run away from T-Rex. No.
Yeah, so in conclusion, don't watch
Crisis
the
had
show.
tank controls, so that's a bad example.
Watch Castlevania instead.
Yeah, my conclusion is the Castlevania show is dope. At least the first 2 seasons that I watched.
Oh, Jake, no, you have to finish it. It's so good.
Yeah?
Oh, I don't know why I panicked like that. It's
Yeah, no, okay.
It ends so strong. Like OG Castlevania, I haven't seen Nocturne.
Yeah.
But the original Castlevania series is so good. And it ends so strongly. Oh my god.
And it actually ends like it
actually ends
wraps
really
it
well.
up. Cool.
And also, I think the first 2 seasons are only 4 episodes each or something. So.
Cool.
The new Arcane is out at the moment as well, actually.
Yes.
Haven't checked it out
It
yet.
seems like
The
I'm
first,
supposed to
6
watch
episodes.
this.
Yeah, no. You haven't watched the first season?
No. I heard it was
I
the
haven't
best thing
watched it
ever.
either.
The best adaptation, I think, full stop. Like, that good. Like, it's the best. It's unbelievable.
It's about something what if it's about something you actively avoid? Like, I do not.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I saw a tweet that was like, you know, like Fallout made me realize I think it was Fallout or something, like made me realize I should play Fallout, and then the League adaptation made me realize I should never ever play League of Legends, you know. And everyone's like, yes, like that, agreed, never play League.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, as an adaptation, it's unbelievable. Like it's crazy how good it is. I'd rank it like, for me, it's like that, and then Cyberpunk is like a close second.
Cool.
Just in terms of how fucking crazy good it is. So yeah.
I love that. Ralph, what have you been up to other than traveling?
Well, one of my travels, I actually rewatched the entirety of True Detective season 1 on the way over here.
Please tell me it's as good as I remember.
Dude, it's unbelievable how much it holds up. It's utterly flawless from like the very first moment to the end. I've never even bothered to watch season 2, 3, or 4.
Me either.
Purely because I've never really heard anything good about them. And I don't want to like sully the memory of True Detective to imagine that it goes past season 1. Same with Westworld, for example, which I foolishly watched
you made the
season
right
2.
decision.
Yeah.
But you're talking about like Westworld season 1, another
Perfect.
example
Yep.
of
Perfect
perfect
TV.
television.
Yeah.
But this is just like a whole other level. Just the performances that Wood Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey give during this movie, during this TV show, unbelievable. And it has so many more layers that you can appreciate the second time watching it as well. Like it was always a very thematic kind of show, but like being able to see those themes coming lets you appreciate them. And it's just unbelievable, man. I don't know, I really wish there was like a game based on it, which sounds kind of goofy, but like there's so much that you could do with that idea, that IP, that landscape. Like, and I think Alan Wake tried to do a lot of it. You know what I mean? It really went into a lot of those places. And certainly watching it again, I could see how inspired Remedy were by True Detective. Like so much of it, in fact, is kind of lifted and dropped, especially about like the you know, the antlers and the whole, and the
stuff in the
cultists and
trees
the worship and the trees. Like that's just ripped straight from True Detective, which I'm sure ripped it straight from other things as well. Like I'm sure that's not specific to that, but yeah, honestly, unbelievable. Just I'm so glad I rewatched it. It was the best. It was the best.
Yeah, I'll rewatch. I'm watching Mad Men for the first time now.
Oh, no way.
wow.
That's awesome.
I really am enjoying it because it's like it's held up so well because it's obviously not a timepiece, that's a watch.
Period piece.
Period piece, thank you. It's a timepiece. But no, and so I'm getting through it. But I realized the other day that I've been like slowly getting through it for about a year. But the last week or so I've just kind of blasted through all of season 2 and I'm really loving it.
Yeah, it's still good in those first 2 seasons. Drops off hard towards the back end, but
That's fine. I mean, I'm enjoying the ride for now. I guess like I'll
It's just good to live in that world with those characters. Like I just like being there, you know? Especially it's great to see them return in the Jerry Seinfeld Serial movie. We got John Slattery as like they brought them back, which sounds like a fever dream of a sentence. Yeah.
The Serial movie?
What's this?
The Jerry Seinfeld made a Netflix movie, a big budget Netflix comedy movie about cereal.
That's right.
Jerry Seinfeld works at a cereal factory.
Yeah,
Okay.
didn't that like no one talked about that? No one watched that. Yeah,
It made me chuckle a little bit, but I'm also 1,000 years old.
Sure.
But there was a bit where like, cause it's in the 50s or whatever, they go to some ad
John
executives and sure enough,
It's them.
It's
them.
And it's like, what the
Oh.
fuck is going on?
Oh,
I like
God.
that. That's a nice little
And
touch.
no one
funny.
cared. Like the internet, like nobody, like it was like,
Yeah,
this
I actually
broke the
have
internet.
not seen that meme at all.
Yeah.
Like that's no, I did not know that happened.
I didn't
That's
know that
how you
happened.
know that movie totally tanked, because that should have been some big thing where everyone's like, whoa.
Yeah, it's
But
like
no,
Jesse
no one-
and Walt like showing up, like literally.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I'm doing that in the background, but my main thing I want to talk about this week is I'm reading a book that Max Scoville actually recommended it to me. It's called At Home, A Short History of Private Life by Bill Bryson. And I've never read a Bill Bryson book before. I feel like living in the UK in the early 2000s, he was sort of like the Dan Brown, but for little observations about life.
Sure.
Like he was so like he was on every shelf. Every dad had a copy. Like
see what you're
everyone,
saying.
everyone had.
Sure.
Bill Bryson. But this one is particularly about rooms of the house and the origins of what we now know as norms in the house. So like it's going through room by room, and so like the kitchen and the office and the study and the bedroom. And it's really interesting because it's the kind of pop history that I really enjoy, where it's just everything is kind of to the point. It's not overly academic, but it's, you know, he's got a lot of references and stuff in there, and not references, he's got a lot of like stories that he tells about history, particularly in England. And it's just a really nice breezy read. It's sensibly funny, I think, like a little sensible chuckle every so often. But it's really interesting to know the origins of, you know, why we call things above board instead of, and like the fact that people always used to sleep in the hall, like they never used to have their own bedroom, and everyone just used to sleep, and everything was gross.
What?
Yeah.
Sleep in the hall? What the hell?
Yeah, so basically back in kind of the medieval period, like a hall would just be the big room, and everyone would sleep in there, and everyone had servants.
Oh, you mean like
So
a hall, as in like not a hallway, but like a hall?
yeah,
Like
but like
hall
a
room.
hall, and
Okay.
that's kind of where the name
Sure.
comes from. Then it only later did people realize, hey, privacy is a nice thing, and start to
Sure.
build off rooms and things. And so
Yeah.
one of my
interesting.
favorite things that I discovered, oh my God, was in, I think it was like the late 1700s, 1800s. The members of the church in the UK, in like no one was going to church, and the church was paying all of these pastors and vicars loads of money to not really preach to many people. And so all these priests were like skilled at other things. One of them came up with this algorithm that wasn't used until after he's died, and it was basically used to be a like a prediction model. One of them came up with the idea for one of them became a world expert in Icelandic and wrote the first Icelandic dictionary. One of them wrote the history of dirty jokes. One of them, I think, was like involved in telescopes or something, or like submarines. Like it's like this weird list of things that vicars.
That's
came up with.
interesting. And how does that tie back into like the core thesis of like rooms and homes and stuff?
So that one, I think, came from it was an early chapter, so I think maybe it came from the house itself, because he lives in an old rectory. So like it would have been,
Cool.
yeah, and so he realized one day that he could like look out, and also he found like a really weird door onto his roof that was basically like a square meter, and that's all you could stand on. And for some reason he was like, why the hell did someone build this? And then he started to look at other things in the home, and it's really interesting. I'm having a lovely time. And
Does he talk about the origin of like Funko Pop rooms?
maybe in a later revision,
Absolutely.
because this is
The,
only
the historians will cover that. I'm interested to read what
God.
the remains of our civilization say about that chapter of us.
Oh God. I mean, someone on like YouTube, but in the year 3000, speaking like, yo, what was the deal with those?
My thumbnails will be etched in stone for the remainder of time.
No, there will only be one thumbnail remembered like that, and it's the Uber driver one. That's history. That is.
Oh, that's a whole thing. I put that in the National Library of Congress.
Yes, exactly.
All right, I think that about does it for another episode. Thank you everyone for listening / watching. If you enjoy, please rate on your podcast platform of choice. You can find us. We have a Twitter. Oh, we should set up Blue Sky, shouldn't we? Everyone's on Blue Sky.
I'm on Blue Sky now, actually. Shout out
I'm on
to
Blue
Blue Sky.
Sky.
I think I've really run. Okay, so Twitter is an unusable hellscape and has been for a long time now. I haven't tweeted since October for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, you're an OG.
which,
You're not like you didn't.
Yeah,
just,
you
like,
haven't tweeted for a long
I
time.
fucking hate Twitter. And so then I went over to Threads and I had a proper crack at it. Right, I
did
really
good.
tried, but like eventually it became clear that Threads is just like fake engagement.
Well,
It's
Threads is
really-
also paying people.
Totally.
Yeah, if you get a certain number of views,
Not
you
paying.
are-
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's a lot of engagement bait on Threads. right
There's
now.
so much engagement bait. It's just like, am I the asshole? Like Threads ripped from like, Reddit and whatever and reposted and just like whatever, just garbage. And there's like, it feels like there's no humans on Threads for real.
I'm there.
But even then it's like so few and far between. So then anyway, I'm now gonna give Blue Sky a crack. I don't know if this will be better, but definitely the initial vibes are very positive and it feels
Vibes are
very
nice.
human as opposed to Threads, which feels like an Instagram feed but in words. You know what I mean?
Feels like Twitter circa 2016, 2017.
Sure.
Oh, I like
Which is
that.
good. Actually, that was peak Twitter.
I'm gonna go on and
Yeah,
just
so-
write like just ate lunch.
That's what Kojima does to this day, man. It works for him. So
yeah.
why not work? Why not wouldn't work for you?
Yep.
That's it. So anyway, look for me on Blue Sky if you're over there.
Yep.
And yeah, that's it.
You can find me on Blue Sky, Threads. I just post the same thing to all platforms, so sorry.
Yeah.
But until someone figures out a way to do that with a touch of, like, the press of one button, that would be great.
There's things that do that.
Probably. I mean, admittedly,
Yeah.
I haven't looked.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been in a real, just like, I've been cooking a lot recently, which is kind
Oh.
of nice, keeps me busy.
Nice.
I like that.
Yeah. Jake, where are you? Where you at?
I have a Blue Sky account. I have a Threads account. I'm still just wallowing in the muck of Twitter. Instagram. I just really like Instagram. It's nice. I
like
post a little
Instagram.
picture. Everybody's nice. And YouTube. I'm just into YouTube trenches for forever.
That's it.
So
That's
that's
us,
where
man.
you really can find me. Is
Yeah.
clicking heart on a comment.
And on the beach, nursing your PS5 Pro.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you again for listening to us watching. Jake.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to check out the Substack. It's great.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
But along with that, tie your shoes and go to bed.